Forget about the cold. Was it a nice drive to work?
It was foggy.
Foggy. Yeah. There were some cars that didn't have the lights on. We got a few texts saying, well, for Pete's sake. Where did that term come? For Pete's sake?
I don't know, just in case it's bad.
No, maybe not.
The thing with the lights, it's so important, like, to have your lights on in the morning, especially in those conditions.
But did they not say as well, do you know it's good to have your dips on during the day as well? Is that one?
Well, in some countries, I think in some of the Nordic countries, they're automatically on all the time.
Yeah.
But you see, a lot of the more modern cars, and they're not really, the last 5, 6, 7 years, they have the lights auto, but I know people who have the auto lights and they still don't use them. So
yeah.
It's a mental
block.
But
it's going to get foggy or mistier in the morning, so it's best.
Just that period between darkness and light as well, even if there's no fog.
Yeah.
But you just need the lights on.
You sure do. All right, have a good show now.
Come here, you make sure you switch your lights on, all right? Take care of yourself.
I'm trying to save electricity, keep them
it's
off.
It's on dynamo. Practice what you preach. Good
luck. Good luck.
Safe home. All right, then. That's Lee Gooch. It's the 9 till noon show. Let's get a news update and say good morning, Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The Construction Industry Federation says building levies to fund the MICA redress scheme should be aimed at manufacturers. Cabinet ministers are due to discuss changes to a proposed 10% levy on concrete announced in Budget 2023. Finance Minister Pascal Donohoe has reiterated this morning that it will be going ahead despite pressure from backbenchers to change or scrap it. Director General of the Construction Industry Federation, Tom Parlin, says manufacturers should be paying the levy.
The issue in Donegal with MICA was defective concrete blocks. Nobody has ever challenged that. It was defective concrete blocks that were supplied to the house builder or the industry, and a lot of the houses in Donegal were self-builds. So it's the wrong target. It's not the industry. It was the manufacturing and the supply side, and they should be targeted.
The Junior Cert results are to be issued on Wednesday, November the 23rd. The State Examinations Commission has confirmed that this year's results will be available in schools on the 23rd of November, and candidates can also access their results online from 4 p.m. on that date. The delay is being blamed on a very significant shortage of examiners. A special meeting of Donegal County Council will be held today to acknowledge the Chrysler tragedy. Councillors will offer their condolences to the families of the 10 victims of the explosion and pay tribute to the emergency services for their work in the major rescue and recovery operation. What supports the council can offer now in the aftermath will also be up for discussion. Laska Hearlock of Donegal County Council, Councillor Micheál Naughton, says there is an onus on the council to ensure those impacted by the tragedy are looked after.
The people will need extra support there around the Chrysler area. I mean, basically what they've lost here is, the heart of the village, the heart of the community, and the people suffering. And their hearts have to go to the people that have lost loved ones. So definitely there is an onus on us as councillors and Donegal County Council to put whatever support and help that we can do, make sure that the people are looked after into the future.
The Chrysler Post Office, meanwhile, will this morning reopen at a temporary location. The facility was destroyed in the explosion over a week ago. The new temporary post office is located on the main street in the building which housed the local post office for a number of years and up to May of this year. Since the tragedy, post office services have been available at nearby Kilmacrennan. All services will now return to Chrysler. Finally, for weather, mainly dry and sunny today. It will become breezy later with highest temperatures of 12 to 14 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
You're all living your best lives now, aren't you?
That's right. Andrea got a new car with heated everything. Greg's finally having his horse-themed wedding. I'm getting the bathroom redone. It's a waterfall rain shower.
This mightn't be your life, but with a loan from An Post Money, you can live your best life with Ireland's lowest rate on loans over 20k. Apply now at onpost.com/loans. An Post Money, your money for your world. Lending criteria, T's and C's apply. New applications only. Info correct July 14, 2022. Source CCPC for Ireland's lowest rate. An Post acts as a credit intermediary on behalf of Avantcard DAC. An Post trading as An Post Money is authorised as a credit intermediary by the CCPC. Avantcard DAC trading as Avant Money is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Green Shoes at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, Market Square in Falcarra, with a new range of great autumn-winter footwear now in stock. Also online at greenshoes.com.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning to you. It's just turned 5 minutes past 9 on this Tuesday. It's the 18th of October. How are you doing? I hope you're very well indeed. And hopefully you'll stick around and enjoy the show for the next 3 hours. We have the lines open for you right now. WhatsApps and texts 086 60 25,000. Feel free to have your say, pass on some information, whatever it might be. You're more than welcome to get in touch. You can also call, by the way, 07491 25,000, 07491 25,000, or your emails to comments@highlandradio.com if you want to watch the show on your Fire Stick, YouTube Watch, or not YouTube Watch, Facebook Watch, or whatever. You can go straight to our website, click Watch Live on highlandradio.com, or go over to YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland, or any of our Facebook pages. And it's great to have Green Shoes, Letterkenny and Falcara on board, sponsoring the programme for this week. And we have a pair of Dewberry leather boots available for you to win today. And I'll let you know after we run through the papers how you get involved in that. So thanks to our sponsors, Green Shoes, Letterkenny and Falcara, we have a beautiful pair of Dewberry leather boots. Dewberry are a top Irish brand and are new this season at Greens. And there's a great selection of top quality shoes and boots now available in store online. And I have to go in there myself and get Hudson a pair of shoes. So I'll be reminded all week to go into Greens. All right. So stay tuned for how you can win those boots and for the rest of what we have lined up for you today. Let's look at the newspapers for this morning and the Donegal People's Press. Father John Joe Duffy reveals tragedy helped him through traumatic week. Chrysler curate Father John Joe Duffy has used the experience of his own personal trauma following the tragic drowning of his father 21 years ago to comfort the bereaved and injured in the village. Speaking at Mass in St Michael's Church on Sunday, Father Duffy appealed to everyone to avail of the professional counselling services that had been provided to help the community cope with the trauma that they had experienced following the tragedy on Friday, October 7th. And I think really what was important about Father John Joe making those comments is that it would encourage others, to reflect on what's affected them in the past, how the events of the last 10, 11 days has affected them, and to speak to someone about it. And it was a very brave, obviously, when you open up and talk about your own situation. It's incredibly brave in a public forum. But what it also does is it sort of opens that door a little wider maybe to someone who is feeling that they might need a little bit of help. It opens the door a little bit wider for them maybe to step in and get the help that they need. And I would imagine there was certainly another example of leadership from Father John Joe Duffy into facing up to what's affecting us and to get some help for it when it's available, and it is still available for those who are affected by the Chrysler tragedy. The Derry Journal, mourners heard how 5-year-old Shauna Flanagan Garway was a caring little girl who was so excited to start school last month. Shauna and her dad, Robert, were laid to rest on Saturday. The last of 10 people killed in a suspected gas explosion at a shop in Chrysler. The people who died were James O'Flaherty, 48, Jessica Gallagher, 24, Martin McGill, 49, Catherine O'Donnell, 39, her son James, 13, Hugh Kelly, 59, Martin at 49, Robert Galway 50, and his daughter Shauna, who we mentioned, 5 years, and of course Leona Harper, just 14 years of age. And we remember them and we keep them in our thoughts, of course. On to the Irish Times now, and I don't know if you've got a view on the evictions ban. Maybe you've a landlord's view. I think maybe a landlord might be less inclined to come on and talk about it because, you put your head above the parapet, someone's going to try and take it off. But I'd be interested in maybe you're a renter or a landlord if you have a view on this, because it's not exclusive to areas with sort of rent pressure zones, etc. It's going to impact us here. Well, the Cabinet's expected to approve a ban on new evictions lasting until next March when it meets this morning, despite misgivings about the measure among some in Fine Gael. Once ministers give the go-ahead, the government will introduce legislation in the Oireachtas, which it aims to pass before the end of this month. However, it's expected that the evictions ban will not extend to tenants who refuse to pay rent or misuse a property, and that existing notice to quit will still be enforceable, which, it's not in power yet. So landlords looking to get people out, they might issue a notice to quit now, right? And then the tenant has no protection, really. So they're giving them a window, landlords a window, effectively, to issue these notices. That's how some might see it. But what do you think? Maybe there is an element of pushing a can down the road to March, but because we're facing into a winter, maybe that is the right thing to do. I don't know what's the right thing or wrong thing in this situation, but what do you think? 086 60 25,000. The Cabinet going to agree that today. Irish Independent tells us that one of the country's largest home builders wants to entice farmers into partnerships that may see them get higher than normal prices for land. In some cases, Glenveagh Properties will be prepared to offer substantial non-refundable deposits to secure a farmer's support for a project. That's interesting phraseology, isn't it? A non-refundable deposit to get a farmer's support for a project. Okay. Sounds a bit like a payoff, doesn't it? They've launched a campaign aimed at overcoming what it sees as a huge fall-off in the amount of development land coming to market. The deal will see farmers paid an upfront sum on condition the developer can make a planning application. Glenveagh will then carry all the costs associated with a sizable application to a local authority. If permission for a development is granted, the final sale price will be higher than what the farmer might have expected if he had sold at the beginning of the process. If the farmer sold the land today with issues in place, planning or lack of services, it would sell for X, whereas if they come on the journey with us and we add value through the planning process or services, they will be paid a different figure as that value is added to the land. Glenveagh Investment Director Owen Hughes told the Irish Independent. It seems to make a bit of sense. On to the Irish Daily Mail. Right, really bizarre. It's really bizarre politically at the best of times wherever you are, but over in Britain at the moment, unbelievable stuff. I'm finding myself feeling sorry for Liz Truss. Now, I am fully aware of what she and her former Exchequer, her former Chancellor, have done to people. A lot of people now, because of the mini budget that they announced, a lot of people are seeing mortgages, first-time buyers particularly, or those exiting deals, a mortgage of, say, for instance, well, actually, the figure is, on average, a mortgage increase of £2,500. Now, to earn £2,500, often you have to earn 4 or 5 before you can clear £2,500. So their mistake, in inverted commas, is going to cost, your average mortgage holder in Britain and Northern Ireland $2,500 a year. Not to mention the other impacts it might have, because they had given hope in terms of certainty over electricity prices. That's been scrapped as well after March. But what I'm saying is that I don't feel sorry for her in that she's well capable to suffer the consequences of her decisions politically. But it's just a shambles. I mean, there was Labour put down a question yesterday, which normally would see the leader of government come in to answer. She just didn't turn up. And then she did turn up when Jeremy Hunt was addressing the House of Commons, and she sat behind him and said nothing, and then left halfway through his presentation. Really quite bizarre. And then she gave an interview to the BBC last night, which was as watery as they come. Well, last night, Liz Truss was warned. She was in office but not in power, as she issued a grovelling apology for blunders on the UK economy. Speaking after new Chancellor Jeremy Hunt dismantled her tax-cutting growth plans, the British Prime Minister said she had gone too far and too fast. I want to accept responsibility and say sorry for the mistakes that have been made. I was expecting it to be tough, and it has been tough. I think it's fair to say, she told the BBC. Earlier, Mr Hunt used an extraordinary 5-minute televised statement to axe almost all of Ms Truss's flagship tax cuts in a bid to reassure the financial markets that the government was serious about balancing the books. But she's a lame duck now. This is not a U-turn. This is like turning a oil tanker on a sixpence. But as I say, there's a Tory tax now on mortgage payers and others affected by the interest rates, which will not come back like they went up. And Britain, and of course you have to throw this into the Brexit context now, Britain has a €60 billion hole in its finances, and the reversal of those measures yesterday plugs about half of that. They have to find $30 billion annually, which means that rather than tax cuts, there's going to have to be tax increases. Rather than reductions in spending on public services, the NHS, etc., they are actually going to have to they're actually going to have to cut even further. So they're facing into an awful time over there. Hopefully we're somewhat insulated by it. The Star today, Jerry the Monk Hutch is expected today to plead not guilty to the charge of murder of Kinahan cartel associate David Byrne. Mr. Hutch, who's 59, will this morning stand trial for the February 2016 murder of Byrne in what's expected to be the gangland court case of the decade. One of the first things Mr. Hutch will have to do when the trial starts in the non-jury special criminal court in Dublin is to formally answer the allegation that he murdered Mr. Byrne. He will be arraigned at the start of today's proceedings and will have to say whether he pleads guilty or not guilty. His defence team has already indicated he's fighting the charge. As soon as he utters the words, his trial will start. There's going to be a lot of... if you're interested in that, you're going to be flooded with it in the likes of the tabloids, the red top tabloids, and elsewhere. If you're not interested in it, it's going to be hard to avoid. Des Cahill, he's hanging up the mic of a programme I've never really watched, actually, the Sunday Game. Des Cahill revealed he's thrilled to be stepping down from his role as the host of the Sunday Game, as the show's broken and needs to be fixed. The 63-year-old yesterday announced his decision to leave, bringing a 15-year spell on RTE TV to an end. The GEA broadcaster revealed he was calling it quits because he wants to go see live games again. But Des has no regrets, as hosting the show left him feeling frustrated in recent years. He yesterday told the Irish Sun about his shock exit. "I'm thrilled. I'm heading off to somewhere posh with my wife now for the afternoon to celebrate. I'm lucky that I enjoyed it so much, but I'm surprised. I'm so happy now. I thought I would have pangs when the announcement was made. My son said to me, 'You should have done it a couple of years ago,' because he could see I was frustrated." All right, okay. Who's to replace him, though? Jackie Hurley's in with a shout. Dara Maloney, Damien Lawler, Dara O'Canaja, and Marty Morrissey is also being shortlisted for that role. I don't think he'd do it, though. Would he give up his commentary to do that and all the other stuff he enjoys doing now? I don't know. What do you think? Do you have a preference? 086 60 25,000. And is this the last one? I believe it is, you know. The Irish Daily Mirror. Workplaces face an exodus of female staff after research revealed most menopausal women aren't getting the help they need to help them in their jobs. Just over 36% of respondents in the poll of over 1,000 people say they've been forced to call in sick on account of devastating symptoms, and 81% didn't feel comfortable discussing the issue with their employer. Researchers also found 38.4% of women who took part in the survey said they would consider quitting their jobs because of menopause. I think businesses need a framework, really, whereby a HR or boss or whatever can broach the subject, or that someone who's affected by that feels that there's a framework for them to bring up that issue. It affects an awful lot of people. All right, let's do this quiz, shall we? Where is it? I haven't a clue. It's in here somewhere. Oh, thanks to Donald yesterday, by the way, for stepping in for me. There it is, Quiz Tuesday, because he found Quiz Monday. I've found Quiz Tuesday now. Right, so on this week's show, thanks to our sponsors, Green Shoes, Letterkenny and Falcara, we're giving you a chance to win a pair of Dubbery boots. It is Dubbery, isn't it? Dubbery. They're available now, brand new this season at Greens, with a great selection of top quality shoes and boots now available. And to be in with a chance of winning this fantastic prize this morning, all you have to do is answer a simple question. In fact, it's to finish off a phrase. What do you say? Put your best foot A forward or B to the left. Put your best foot A forward or B to the left. So finish the phrase. Put your best foot A forward or to the left. I feel like I am line dancing here, but I'm not, I assure you. Where? A forward, B left. Text or WhatsApp the word hi, plus your answer, name and address to 086 60 25,000. Standard text rates apply, but it's free on WhatsApp, and for most of you it's probably free on SMS as well, because that's just a regular SMS number. It's not a premium or anything. So answer the question, put your best foot A forward or B to the left. Text or WhatsApp the word hi plus your answer, name and address to 086 60 25,000. Right, so hopefully we'll have a big entry for that. Right, there is a significant event taking place today, in fact, isn't it? It's an international conference on mica, in inverted commas, defective blocks, We're going to be speaking to a panel of guests on this issue in a moment.
On this week's show, with thanks to our sponsors Green Shoes, Letterkenny and Falcara, we're giving you the chance to win a pair of Dubarry leather boots. Dubarry is a top Irish brand, new this season at Greens, with a great selection of top quality shoes and boots now available in-store and online. To be in with a chance of winning this fantastic prize, simply complete the phrase, put your best foot, is it A, forward, or B, to the left? Text or WhatsApp the word hi plus your answer, name and address to 086 60 25,000. Standard text rates apply.
Text or WhatsApp your view to Greg on 086 60 25,000.
Don't miss Lyle Crocodile.
It's a crocodile! He can sing!
The big screen reptile that's making everyone smile. Featuring new music from the songwriters of The Greatest Showman and starring Javier Bardem and Shawn Mendes as Lyle.
Awesome!
At the top of the world tonight.
Lyle Crocodile. Only at cinemas now. IFCO Cert PG.
From the smallest shrub to the largest tree in an awkward place, Donnelly Tree Services provide a complete range of tree surgery services. Whether you need to remove a dangerous tree or some nuisance branches, Donnelly Tree Services have the experience and expertise to carry out tree surgery to the highest of professional standards. Call 083 005 9939. Donnelly Tree Services, Donegal. No job is too small, no tree is too tall.
Dunstore's Double Savers gives you new ways to shrink your bill. Save in the aisles when you stock up on Coca-Cola Classic 10-can packs and Diet Coke 12-can packs for just €7. Or Hunky Dory selected sharing bags, now half price. Then save again at the till with our 5 off 25 grocery vouchers. Shrink your bill with Double Savers. Dunstores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next in-store grocery shop of €25 or more.
He loves the game, but it doesn't always love him. Still, he gives it his all, every time he's asked. He puts up his hand. He puts in the hard yards, day in, day out. Some say he's mad to do it. He doesn't disagree, but he'd do anything for this game. He's a referee, and he belongs where we all belong.
The GAA stands with its referees and match officials. Join us in doing the same this Referee Respect Day, Sunday, October 23rd. Hashtag GAA Ref Respect. GAA, where we all belong.
Okay, so there's an international conference on mica defective blocks taking place on Tuesday, November 15th. That's next month between 1:45 and 9:45 p.m. I'm joined by a number of guests to discuss this now. First, we'll say good morning to you, Professor Paul Dunlop, Research Director for Geography and Environmental Sciences, Ulster University. Good morning, Paul.
Morning, Greg. How are you doing?
Good to have you with us. I'm doing great, thanks. Dr. Eileen Doherty is a lecturer in digital transformation at Ulster University and is with us as well. Eileen, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg.
And Joseph Morgan is Director of Engineering at Druva. Have a pronunciation correct there, Joe?
That's correct, Greg. Yeah.
I may have even pronounced pronunciation wrong. Maybe it's pronunciation. I haven't a clue. Anyway, listen, I digress. Paul, I wanted maybe to start with you, if that's okay, and to help me and others who aren't familiar with this, that where does this conference sit in the whole sort of mica controversy, the whole mica scandal, if you know what I mean? Because people will be listening at home and, you know, there's frustration there as the scheme seems stalled and there's question marks over it as well. You know, and we have the manufacture of these products and then we're here now. So just in that whole time frame or in the whole context, where does this conference sit?
Okay, so I mean, obviously there have been a lot of people who've been following the whole mica story, particularly in Donegal, will have be very aware of another mineral that has sort of come into the mix called pyrrhotite, which is very highly reactive mineral called an iron sulfide mineral, and it releases sulfur into the concrete blocks when it's comes in contact with oxygen and moisture. That turns into sulfuric acid and it can attack concrete. And a lot of applications have stalled because of the Department of Housing and the NSAI IS 465 don't take that mineral into consideration, although there's definitely mounting evidence of that playing a major part in what's happening in the concrete in Ireland. So IS 465 is currently under review. It was Dara O'Brien, the Minister, said that needed to happen. They try and look at other factors that might be causing concrete to degrade. So that's where we sort of fit into this. We decided that we would try and reach out to some of the best international scientists in the world who work with defective concrete, geological minerals, and understand the detail of what is happening in concrete, and bring them across to Ireland. Now, we had an event in March last year, if you recall. We had speakers at the European Parliament. These are the same people. So Luke Ming Flanagan's office is paying for them to come across to Donegal to basically see what's happening in detail up close, and also share with anybody who wants to come to the conference, whether that's homeowners or engineers working on the scheme or government officials or people from the NSAI, what pyrite does in concrete, what other factors may be causing issues here in concrete in Donegal, and also what science has told other countries internationally about the impacts of these minerals on concrete. So it's a bit of a sort of, it's a gathering of expertise for the first time with some of the leading experts in this field in Ireland, to try and throw a fair bit of intelligence onto the issue.
And is this then more looking to the future and to maybe help avoid anything like this happening again, or, us really being a reference if anything like this happens elsewhere? In other words, what impact might this have retrospectively?
So, one of the things that we want to do is bring across other people from different countries to show how science has informed the standards in other countries. And we know the people who we've brought across their scientific results have changed standards in Canada, in America, and in Norway. So it's about that. It's about trying to sort of say, well, how did you do it in your country, and what can we do here in Ireland? We have an authority, a body called NSAI, National Standards Authority of Ireland, who are responsible for updating standards. So, they can learn from other countries about what to do. How do they deal with this issue, and how do they change standards to protect citizens in the future? So it's a couple of things. It's about bringing intelligence to Ireland. It's about having an open discussion with other people. It's not just about pyrite. This conference has got a broader spectrum of people who deal with defective concrete coming to it. But it's about opening up a debate. And it's about hoping that basically the people who are interested and responsible for updating standards will listen.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And pardon my ignorance before we bring the other guests in here. Is this not the type of initiative a government, for example, taking an issue like this seriously, should be organising themselves, be it in front of or behind closed doors? Do you know what I mean? Like, if you are really serious about getting to the bottom of a problem, to tackling it, to understanding it, like, you would expect sort of the housing department or something to be drawing these type of experts together.
Yeah, can I just come in there if you don't mind?
Of course, Eileen.
Yeah. Actually, it's a very, very good point, because actually when we were in the working group last year, myself and Joe, we actually said that very thing to the Department of Housing. We gave them information on all these people. We gave them their email addresses. We gave them all their names, and we told them who they were. Now, the list has still since expanded, because Paul has reached out to another few who he was working with. But we literally a year ago or more gave them all this information and said, you should be speaking to these people. So yes, absolutely. This is something that we should not necessarily have had to take the initiative on. Now, obviously, the focus of this, as Paul said, is pyrite and it's science, but it's much, much broader than that as well. I mean, it's effectively, as somebody said to me in the last week, because we've been organising this obviously for a number of months, myself, Paul and Joe, it's literally going to be an event where everybody who has anybody in defective concrete or materials is going to be in the one building on the one day, internationally. That's the simplest way to describe it. It's not just the scientists that are brought over to talk about the minerals, it's the government officials. We have a session on government representation. We have a session on the societal impacts on mental health. We have groups like National Development Partnership. We have researchers in psychology who are talking about mental health. We have families who are coming to tell their story. We have commercial businesses who are coming to tell their story. I'll be presenting on the Irish governance, the lack of governance. It's a massive, massive conference. It's an incredible conference as it's come together. We started off with sort of maybe smaller plans, and it's expanded into something really quite exciting. I mean, at the end of the day, I think the key thing, Greg, is that this is about collaboration. You know, we've spent a lot of the last number of years, you know, there's frustrations on every side. You know, the scheme is not perfect, but ultimately we need to get everybody together into the one room. And we need to start discussing how do we come up with solutions. That's effectively the easiest way to describe what this conference is. How do we come up with solutions on all aspects of the scheme, on the fact that the protocol is deficient, on the fact that there's not enough mental health provision in the county. How do we deal with the fact that the commercial premises, businesses have not been supported? It's absolutely everything. Now, we have this on day one, which is Tuesday the 15th. Myself, Paul and Joe are going to then take the delegation of international experts and researchers on a day trip the next day on a site visit across Inishowen, mostly in Letterkenny. And then on the third day, we have what we call a research scoping day, where we're going to sit down and say, right, where do we go from here? The focus of this is research. We want to ensure that there's absolutely the best research is undertaken by all of the key stakeholders, and that we really just start taking this very seriously. Some of these things, I mean, we've been asking for facilitators for the last 2 years. There's nobody on the ground supporting families. These kind of things we have to give a bit more prominence to. So this is basically, I suppose, a mixed bag, but it's really all encompassing. It's everything.
Yeah, Joseph, to the scale of this and all the different parts of this scandal that it covers, I mean, this should be front page news nationally, certainly, if not internationally. Such is the quality of this conference that has been put together, because it touches everything. Like, no one could attend this and not have a full understanding of everything that's going on here.
Yeah, I think Eileen probably summed that up quite well, Greg. It is multidisciplinary. So, you know, there are three very distinct threads running through the conference. And to Paul's point, the who's of experts, international experts in concrete, are going to be on location in Donegal on that date of the 15th of November. And like Paul has very much led bringing the scientists who are worldwide recognized together. And you know, if you look at the agenda, it's in a very exhaustive agenda. And we've also brought in leading players from government organizations and state bodies as well, in order that we get a balanced view, right? Because ultimately we're trying to inform policy as a result of it. Eileen is going to be covering the multidisciplinary aspects around governance and psychology, etc. And then where I'm coming in is to try and share where we're at in terms of research that we've done around EU regulation. And, you know, just in summary, that exercise has been running since the middle of last year, off the back of the work myself and Eileen were doing in the working group. As you know, we visited Brussels in December 2021 to present an initial petition to the petitions committee within the EU Parliament. So there is activity happening as a result of that, and we'll cover that in a bit more detail. And then subsequent to that, we've also changed tact, and we're also now looking at the relevance of EU human rights regulation, which has a slightly different objective, and that is to try and inform and enhance the current parameters of the scheme that's being proposed by the government today.
Yeah, Paul, is part of the problem, though, the wider the parameters of this scheme, the wider they become, the more expensive it becomes. And to some extent, this current scheme that seems to be just something to put a lid on the problem for a while, if you know what I mean. Like, there'd have to be an appetite to sort of embrace this information and say, do you know what, we really need to do the right thing here. I wonder, in political circles, regardless of where those circles are, will the appetite be there for broadening this out really to where it probably needs to be?
Well, I mean, ultimately, if you want to try and resolve a major problem, you have to get down to the facts that are causing it, you know. And if you don't do that, then it just prolongs the issue. And it prolongs the pain and it prolongs the finances of it. So, you know, we've all seen that there's been a real pushback from government to try and understand what's been happening, really. It took around 12 years. Eileen's been at the front of this from the very, very beginning to try and get a scheme in the first place. And there was a massive social campaign last year to try and get a better scheme that would work for people. And then there was a lot of people worked with the local politicians and TDs to try and get 80 amendments done to try and make the legislation right. And every single one of them were rejected by the current government. You know, so you can kick back as long as you like, but it only prolongs the pain and the suffering of individuals living in homes, but also the finances of it. And ultimately, if you want to get it resolved, you need science to tell you, A, what's happening internally in the concrete, and B, how do we change regulations using the science and information so this never, ever happens again.
Yeah. Can I ask you what might seem like, especially given the talent I have on this call, but it might seem a basic thing. But say for instance, session 3, scientific insights into the cause of defective concrete, right? Like, maybe a lot of people out there think that at some point someone made a decision, right, to say that we can produce this product maybe cheaper or more efficiently, I don't know what, and as a result of a decision that was taken, here we are now. Is that the case? Because, obviously we need to hold those responsible to account, right? But then sometimes when it gets so technical, maybe there's an out there. Well, I didn't realize it was so technical. Do you get where I'm coming from? Like, so could you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I mean, I'll keep it very basic for everyone listening. So essentially, European Union came up with standards for producing all sorts of materials. They were adopted by the NSAI and for sort of the Irish format. So a very easy one to follow was one called SR16, which is basically the standards that you follow for producing aggregates. And aggregates are basically rock that you just crush. Now, there are very clear guidance within those standards in terms of how you follow. And a very simple one to look at is basically how much sulfur is being released if pyrite is present. It's very, very, very small amount. So anyone who's crushing bedrock with pyrite present as a mineral should be testing their aggregates and seeing does their sulfur release conform to what's in SR16. And if it doesn't, then you can't use it to make concrete. That's my understanding of it. To me, it's maybe very simple.
So, in other words, if
there are guidance,
if national standards had been followed at the time that these products were being produced, we wouldn't be where we're at now. Is really
well, we're saying and I mean, can I just say that also, like, say for example, I'm presenting a paper in Portugal next month on the governance failure by the Irish state. What I'm looking at and presenting, and I'm going to be talking about it at this conference too, is the government didn't learn from pyrite. So pyrite came before us. After pyrite, there was a report done, an independent report, and they produced, say, about 17 recommendations to say, this is what we should do now to address that this arose. And if it ever comes up again, this is the kind of things we should do. So I've gone through each of the recommendations from pyrite and looked at what did they actually implement following pyrite that might have helped us avoid this situation. Virtually nothing. Virtually nothing was implemented from pyrite. So the point is, we're trying to say is it's not only from a scientific point of view, but there's all this governance issue. Like, why did the government even bother doing that investigation into pyrite when they don't even bother taking on their own recommendations? I mean, Joe's looking at the EU stuff, which is really incredible. There's an amazing amount of stuff. I don't know, Joe, if you want to make a comment there that Joe's
I was going to come in, Eileen, and Greg, to your question. We know, and it's not just homeowners who are saying it, the government themselves and their advisors and industry experts in Ireland are now confirming that there has not been assessment of quarries that would align to what EU regulation stipulates that they have to do. And one of the key shortfalls is, and the government are saying this, I'm not making this up, the government have stated this in writing and verbally, they would assess quarries off the foot of a complaint. In the absence of a complaint, there was no assessments happening. Now, the EU states that you have to have regular proactive assessment of quarries and the manufacturing process of concrete. That wasn't happening in Ireland. So that is a contributing factor in terms of where we find ourselves today.
Yeah, and sorry for the basic question, but sometimes when the more science you introduce into it, sometimes it can, and I often think if I'm struggling a little bit, other people listening are. So it's good to ask, and I think just get that clarified. The balance to Eileen here between the science, and I'll go back to Paul on some of the talent that's been invited and is attending versus the reality for people. They're going to be there, the reality of it. You've talked a little earlier on too about how it's affecting people in all different ways. An important balance to strike there, wasn't it? So this is all inclusive, really.
It's all inclusive, and I think it's worth noting, again, I've mentioned it very briefly at the start, but there is a session also where government are coming to speak, and that's a big deal for us too, because that happened just really in the last couple of weeks, We have John O'Connor, for example, who's coming to speak. He was a liaison between homeowners and the department over the last year. So we have people from Engineers Ireland, Damien Owens from Engineers Ireland, with Martin McDermott from the council. So we have that balance in the sense they're going to come, families will have an opportunity to maybe ask questions of those kind of government bodies. Then we have the multidisciplinary session, which is a session that I'm chairing. And it's a really good opportunity for us to give families and other people affected the opportunity to talk about how this is impacting them on it's an international stage ultimately, Greg. You know, a lot of the scientists who are coming from all over the world, the government officials who are going to be there, they're going to hear these stories firsthand from these families. It's a full day event. They can meet these people. So we'll hear very different stories from Eileen McLaughlin-Long, who's going to talk about the impact on her and her family. We're going to have Angeline Ruddy from Moville. She's a teacher. She's going to talk about the impact on students and also school teachers just in Moville College. And then we have an anonymous business owner who is we're going to present his presentation. And again, that highlights the fear that's amongst commercial property owners, because if they come forward to say they have MICA, they have no insurance. So we have a very mixed bag there. We also have an Insurance Development Partnership who will talk about the schemes that they're currently running to support families all over the county. And then we have psychology from Karen Kirby, who's a senior lecturer in psychology, and she'll talk about the research that they're planning to undertake. So there's a huge amount of stuff there. I mean, to be honest, Greg, we could have done this over 3 days. There's so many people we'd love to have asked. But we're trying to do it. It's the first time it's ever been done. Nothing's ever been done like this internationally. And again, we hope this is the first of many. So we really just want people to go online. We want them to register. And we just want to really have a full house. This is an opportunity for families to meet so many different people that they might have questions of. So we really, really urge people to register and to come on the day.
Yeah, and as we begin to wrap up, we'll definitely remind people as to how they can. But I'm just looking at the roundtable stakeholder discussion, Paul. That's going to be fascinating because these people will not have had an opportunity on this scale to interact before. So you know what I mean. All of them all at the same time, I'd imagine, unless they're all on Zoom. But I imagine not. So it's going to be. It's going to be. But my point is, it's going to be a fascinating conversation that we really don't know where it might go. In other words, at the end of that round table stakeholder discussion, it'll be quite interesting to see where we are at in terms of the sort of science side of things. I know we'll get an idea, but do you get where I'm coming from?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the idea of doing that was to try and get a mixed group of stakeholders, all who have some sort of involvement in either the science of understanding what happens with concrete, down to the people who are living with the impacts of living with the effect of concrete, and then between the people who are trying to deal with it, and to try and maybe get a chance to sort of debate that openly, get people to sort of fully understand the implications of what's happening on the ground, and then how people are dealing with it. So, like, for example, we've got Thomas Campbell, he's one of the engineers on IS 465. He's dealing with homeowners in Donegal and in County Mayo. Quite a complicated thing because it's actually different issues happening in different counties that we think at the minute. And then we've got different scientific opinions there. And then we've got sort of government officials, John O'Connor, Mark McDermott, Engineers Ireland, Damien Owens, people like that who are dealing with sort of registered engineers on the thing. So I think that'll be a very, very good discussion. And you'll see sort of, I would think, a good chance to get immediate information from experts. If someone has an idea or an issue to talk about in the round table, then you can get quite a quick answer straight away without having to wait for a long period of time. So I think that's going to be a very good session.
Yeah, Joe, talk to me a little bit more about the EU policy session that you're chairing with Luke Ming-Flanagan.
Yeah, so Greg, I mean, I was on a couple of weeks with you, and I kind of summarised it. I'll do it again, but we will be going into it.
I can't remember everything, Joe. Let's go again.
That's right. So just the first piece will be, Greg, from my own perspective, will be to revisit the delegation to Brussels in December last year, and I presented to the Petty Commission. Eileen actually joined me. She was one of the delegates that went out there as well. So we'll be recapping on our objective of that trip, which was very specific to construction manufacture regulation, right? And what's happened since then off the back of that. So that'll be the first piece. But subsequently, and I think this is more important and will be more of interest to homeowners today, given where we're at with the scheme. we have done a lot of research in terms of EU human rights regulation, and there is quite a bit of it, which we feel is very, very relevant to where we find ourselves today in terms of the shortfalls with the scheme. And what we're trying to do is apply political pressure from the EU in order to amend some of the parameters of the existing scheme in order that we have 100% of our homeowners covered by it, which we don't have today.
Right, and Paul, has anyone ever made an estimate as to the full scale of this problem and potential costs? You know, say for instance, as we learn more about the science and you know how products are deteriorating over what period of time and how many might be affected and what the costs might be. Now, of course, when we talk about costs, it depends on what you were to do to remediate these homes. But I mean, where would you see the ballpark figure in reality over multiple years? We'd be talking the cost of fixing this problem correctly.
I mean, that's a big question, and I don't really have the answer for that, because at the minute you think about it, like the $3 billion that we hear from government only really deals with people's private individual homes. It's not dealing with the likes of the business owner that Eileen's bringing to their session. The garages, the petrol stations, the public buildings. It's not dealing with any of that, So essentially, that $3 billion is a very low estimate. I think it's much higher than that.
Yeah, and can I just make a comment on that, if you don't mind, Paul? Because actually, that just gives you a very good example there, Greg, of why we need research. And one of the people that I'm looking to work with is people who are in business who are looking at financial modelling. So that's an example of something that needs to be done. So none of that stuff has ever been done. So there's so many parameters of this MICA issue that's never, ever been properly researched. And that's exactly one of the areas I've actually been trying to get somebody to do research on.
It's like you pick a figure that sort of sounds massive and then you sort of say a few things and then that's that sorted. But, in reality, where and maybe if the figure was 4 times that, everything needs to be chucked out again and revisited, and to incorporate all the types of buildings that you're talking of.
You know something, Greg? Just if you think about this, right? So this scheme effectively is going to cost $3 billion plus. Okay, but no one knows the upper figure really. And do you know how much funding has been allocated for research? I think they gave one project €50,000 2 years ago. They look at defective concrete. I think in Mayo, County Mayo. I mean, you would think that basically the government would go, okay, how do we understand what's going on here? We need to fund. There's Science Foundation Ireland, for example. There's different funding bodies in the south of Ireland. There should be research funding allocated.
This is the problem with the kind of world we're living in, that you might remember that it was clearly a government tactic, and this is not being anti-government, but it was clearly a government tactic to connect the spend on repairing homes with taxpayers. So in other words, we're taking money out of your pocket, right? And we're going to have to give it to these mansion owners in Donegal. That was a narrative for a couple of weeks. Yeah. What we should be saying is, well, can you make sure that you're spending our money correctly? Can you do your research so that we know exactly how this money's being spent, and that if my son or daughter builds a house, that it won't happen to them? But there's not that sort of trickle up accountability that we really should be insisting on.
No, and just to give you an idea, that in Canada, for example, we have experts coming from university in Canada. In Canada, they've given over $1 million in research funding. They've done similar stuff in the US. Why are we not talking about this?
Because they don't. Maybe because the answers might cost $20 billion.
Exactly, we know that, and that's one of the reasons why I think we just have to force this conversation, Greg. And I think it's just a really important conference. There's so many questions that people ask, like the one you've asked, that nobody is even looking at. So we want to become effectively a kind of a centre of excellence in the Northwest, and Ulster and ATU, to really start asking and answering some of these questions on behalf of everybody involved in this issue.
Right, okay.
Greg,
so, yes, go ahead.
Can I make one last point?
Joseph, go ahead, yep.
Just very quickly. So we have a current estimate from government of 2.7 billion, but there's a foundational or fundamental assumption in that estimate that the fix and the remediation that they put in play for each and every one of these houses is going to be correct, right? This conference may contradict that foundational assumption, in that what they're proposing and what they think today is the issue in Donegal and down the Western Seaboard. That could be contradicted. But if we go ahead as we are and we fix these homes without the level of science that we're proposing and kicking off with this event, the cost will exponentially grow, because they'll have to go back and redo some of these properties.
But sure, look, I'm not an expert, but like, even I was listening to Donal on the show yesterday, and they were talking about smoking cessation, and the question was about vapes, the use of vapes. This is a random analogy, don't get me wrong, but the thing, well, we can't say anything about vapes because we don't know. We don't have the research. Not enough time hasn't passed, right? But you were prepared to spend billions of euro on maybe outer leaves, not considering foundations. And if the truth be told, unless there's a great deal of research, not enough time is to pass to find out what happens to internal leaves. Have it? Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know, or to what might happen as foundations may deteriorate. But in the absence of that information, we are still prepared to potentially spend billions of taxpayers' money without really knowing what might happen to these houses in 5 or 10 years' time. You should be throwing millions and millions of euro at the research to try and figure that out. I mean, that would be a logical use of public funds, wouldn't it?
Well, Greg, absolutely. And the thing about that is, like our university, Ulster University, provided some small amount of funding for me and Andreas Lehman to do some work together. And we have tested inside leaves, we have tested outer leaves, and we've also tested, for the first time a few weeks ago, we took foundation concrete samples from a house that was demolished. Now, we're doing that research on our own because we understand the real pressing needs to get answers for homeowners. I mean, that should be happening at a much higher level in government. And, Andreas is going to be presenting those results at the conference. Very interesting, actually.
Well, there's no point me asking the next question. I was going to say, what did your preliminary examinations find? But anyway, it'll be worth waiting for, because this is... if you simply just run through who's at it and what's being covered, you'll see that this is a wide-ranging and fascinating and important conference that probably should be sponsored or run by the government, but it's not. It's being run by the people, or put together by the people we've been speaking to. It's at the Atlantic Technological University. It runs from it's on Tuesday, November 15th. It runs from 1:45 to 9:45. I know from things that we do in this programme, there'll be a rush towards the end. So if anyone really definitely wants to have their position to observe this, whoever wants to take this, you need to get on to Eventbrite now, I would strongly suggest, because obviously there's not an indefinite there's a limited amount of seats, isn't there?
Yes, there is a limited amount of seats. We would say that we're still talking to you about the actual room and the size, but absolutely, please get on and register as soon as possible. I mean, I think this just proves that we're thinking about, we might offer some sort of streaming capability, but it'll not compare to being in the room, Greg. I mean, you're getting to meet people, getting to ask those questions, as Paul and Joe said. I think we just really, really want as many people to register and to contact us if they have any other queries. But yes.
All right, finally, anything anyone wants to add, Paul?
Just one thing. I mean, like, a lot of homeowners ask me, because I understand the science a bit more detail than others about their homeowner reports. But I get emailed them on a fairly regular basis. What do you think about this? What do you think about this? I mean, if you are a homeowner and you're stuck on the scheme, or you're a homeowner and you want to try and get on the scheme, this is your chance to go and talk to people who know what they're talking about. Come down and talk to them and meet them. Come into the room. You're not going to get another chance like it.
Yeah,
no, and meet people from the department as well, and from local authority, who maybe if your application's stuck, this is an opportunity to everybody will be in that room who has anything to do with mica, pyrite. So please, we urge people to come along.
100%. And we'll obviously remind people of how they can book their tickets and stuff as well. It's eventbrite.ie, the science and societal impacts of defective concrete, and it's going to be linked on the various Facebooks and stuff as well, and we'll link it too, because some of those URLs can be quite long. Yeah. Listen, Eileen,
we can send you a link, and you can put it on your website or something.
We will do that. Send it through. All right, thank you very much indeed. Nice to see you and chat to you again, Paul. Take care of yourself.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much, Greg.
All right, bye. All right, take care, Joe. Thanks very much for your time, and last but not least, of course, Eileen. Thank you for your time as well. Right, 086 60 25,000, the WhatsApp and text number, 086 60 25,000, or give us a call in 07491 25,000.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Green Shoes at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, Market Square in Falcarra, with a new range of great autumn-winter footwear now in stock. Also online at greenshoes.com.
Want unbeatable value from Sky? Here's the deal. Get Sky Broadband Plus, our award-winning Sky Q box for the amazing low price of just €39 a month. Super fast, super reliable broadband. And Sky Q with your apps and recordings. That's Sky Broadband Plus Sky Q for just €39 a month for 12 months. Now that is unbeatable value. Go to sky.ie. Availability subject to location. Offer does not include Sky TV subscription. New Sky customers only. Setup fees, minimum term and further terms apply. For more info, see sky.ie/speeds.
Join John Breslin and the Highland Radio broadcast team this Thursday live from the Inishowen Credit Union's Moville office to celebrate their first anniversary on International Credit Union Day. John will be talking about the importance of credit unions to their local community. That's this Thursday around the Northwest, live from the Inishowen Credit Union in Moville.
At Hickey, Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey, Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey, Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey, Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Get ready for spooky season at Century Complex. This Halloween, we have a great selection of movies at Century Cinemas, delicious food and cocktails in backstage, and Century Plays Halloween Fun Day takes place on the 31st of October from 12 to 2 p.m. Get in touch on 074 9121976 or visit centurycinemas.ie for more information.
Celebrating the 25th anniversary of the first Joe Dolan Bundoran Music Festival, a spectacular Christmas party night at the Allingham Arms Hotel on Friday, December the 16th, with the sensational Joe Dolan Show, Remembering Joe, featuring 5 vocalists with the Dolan family and the original Joe Dolan Band, cabaret, dinner and accommodation if required. Now booking at the Allingham Arms or online at showtours.ie. Revive the 90s in Bundoran on December the 16th at the Allingham.
I can see great things happening in Bundoran over the next 10 years. By the year 2000 we will have emigration down to a trickle.
That is Donegal County Councillor Eddie Fullerton speaking there, who never got to see the year 2000. He was shot dead at his home in Buncrana on May the 25th, 1991. Join me, Michaela Clark, on Wednesday, October the 19th, just after the 8 o'clock news, when we will delve into this story of murder, collusion and an ongoing campaign for justice. This programme is funded by the Broadcasting Authority of Ireland with a television licence fee.
Wild Atlantic Way adventures await you this autumn with a midweek escape to the luxury Radisson Blu Hotel and Spa Sligo from just €125 with complimentary breakfast each morning. Indulge in afternoon tea overlooking Sligo Bay. Relax with a treatment at the spa. Enjoy a delicious meal in the brasserie. Sit back and relax in Waves Bar or surround yourself with the best of Sligo's outdoor pursuits right on your doorstep. Book now at radsligo.com for the perfect autumn midweek escape.
If something's free, why would you turn it down? I mean, a free haircut from a 5-year-old. Oh, no. Or a free sample of onion paste. Oh. Well then, how about a free tour of your neighbour's new shed? Oh, sounds, well... OK, look, they were bad examples. But how about a free eye test and free glasses from the €69 range at Specsavers with your PRSI? Well, that sounds like something to smile about.
Book an appointment or find out more at specsavers.ie.
Your specialty is quality tiles, bathroom suites and wooden floors. Who is the best range of tiles in Donegal?
Crawford Tiles.
The best wood flooring?
Crawford Tiles.
The best bathroom suites?
Crawford Tiles.
5-day bathroom refits?
Crawford Tiles.
And who's been tampering with my questions?
That'd be me.
Crawford Tiles, Castlefin. That'd be them. 07491 43942.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by Grant. From condensing boilers to heat pumps and underfloor heating, trust Grant to heat your home. Visit grant.eu.
Okay, let's have a look at that weather forecast then, and I can tell you that mainly dry and sunny today. It'll become breezy later with moderate to fresh east to south east winds, increasing fresh to strong. Highest temperatures of 12 to 14 degrees. Rain will develop overnight and turn heavy with a risk of flooding by morning. Lowest temperatures of 7 to 9 degrees with fresh easterly winds. Right. Just to remind you, or mention, by the way, I'm not sure we've mentioned it yet, that on Thursday at 11 a.m, Councillor Martin McDermott will be in the studio taking all of your questions on the defective concrete block scheme. So that's this Thursday at 11 o'clock. So if you have any questions about the scheme as to its status, where it's going, how you might get on it, when you might receive refunds, what about, funding for emergency works, all that kind of stuff. Any questions in relation to that, we will try our hardest to get answers for you where answers are available, of course. So that's on Thursday from 11. A caller says, Micah kicked down the road. How many years is this group allowing it to happen? Why didn't they bring Dublin to a halt? What they said they would do. Government didn't give a damn. Think it's quite obvious at this stage. All right, I appreciate your views there. You're correct, Greg. A person's made the decision to produce a cheaper product, which another authority ticked and passed. The result was the mica problem. All right, we've a great competition running in association with our friends at Green Shoes this week. Here are the details to bring us into the news at 10.
On this week's show, with thanks to our sponsors Green Shoes, Letterkenny and Falcarra, we're giving you the chance to win a pair of Dubarry leather boots. Dubarry is a top Irish brand, new this season at Greens, with a great selection of top quality shoes and boots now available in-store and online. To be in with a chance of winning this fantastic prize, simply complete the phrase, put your best foot. Is it A, forward, or B, to the left? Text or WhatsApp the word hi plus your answer, name and address to 086 60 25,000. Standard text rates apply.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. The Finance Minister says he's bringing changes to the proposed concrete block levy to Cabinet this morning. The charge on concrete products has been heavily opposed by the construction sector since it was announced on Budget Day. Housing Minister Darragh O'Brien has raised concerns with his colleagues about the impact of the levy on the cost of building a home. Minister Paschal Donohoe says he will announce changes to the concrete levy later.
We're keeping a levy, and we're going to be implementing a levy next year. I have listened to the feedback in relation to the execution of the levy and some of the consequences that it could have. I've made some modifications to it that I'll be briefing Cabinet on this morning.
Well, the Construction Industry Federation says building levies to fund the mica redress scheme should be aimed at manufacturers. Director General of the Construction Industry Federation, Tom Harlan, says manufacturers should be paying the levy.
The issue in Donegal with mica was defective concrete blocks. Nobody has ever challenged that. It was defective concrete blocks that were supplied to the house builder or the industry, and a lot of the houses in Donegal were self-builds. So it's the wrong target. It's not the industry, it was the manufacturing and the supply side, and they should be targeted.
Meanwhile, an international conference on the science and societal impacts of defective concrete blocks is being held next month in Letterkenny. The event will be co-hosted by the ATU, Ulster University and Midlands Northwest MEP Luke Ming-Flanagan on November the 15th at the ATU's campus in Letterkenny. The conference will see leading international experts in geology, earth sciences and engineering who research the impacts of deleterious materials on concrete from Canada, the USA, Switzerland, Norway and Ireland. Professor Paul Dunlop, a Research Director for Geography and Environmental Sciences at Ulster University, says the conference is about highlighting the approach in other countries in an aim to create standards that address defective block issues in Ireland.
One of the things that we want to do is bring across other people from different countries to show how science has informed the standards in other countries. And we know the people who we've brought across their scientific results have changed standards. It's about trying to sort of say, well, what did you do with your country and what can we do here in Ireland? We have an authority, a body called NSAI, who are responsible for updating standards. They can learn from other countries about what to do. How did they deal with this issue and how did they change standards to protect citizens?
A review into the Junior Cert exam process will be undertaken by the Department of Education. It comes as fourth-year students were told today they'd receive their marks on the 23rd of November, 5 months after they sat their exams. A lack of available examiners and a second sitting of the Leaving Cert last summer added to the 2-month delay. Minister Norma Foley says she can't promise similar delays won't take place next year.
Challenges can occur at any time. As I've said this year, there were specific challenges for the State Examination Commission, and I do think it's important to acknowledge as well that there is a great integrity brought to the exam system by the State Examination Commission. So recognising the difficulties this year, but also the review will very much so focus on doing things in a more timely and efficient manner going forward.
The uncertainty surrounding the British government shouldn't impact negotiations on the Northern Ireland Protocol, according to Minister Simon Coveney. Talks aimed at ending the Brexit impasse had begun again when Liz Truss took over as Prime Minister. But her tenure looks incredibly uncertain after a string of U-turns following a disastrous mini-budget. Foreign Affairs Minister Simon Coveney says he's not talking about her future.
The personalities may change, but the issues in the context of the protocol in a post-Brexit environment don't change, and it's those issues that we're trying to address.
And finally, the Chrysler post office will this morning reopen at a temporary location. The facility was destroyed in the explosion over a week ago. The new temporary post office is located on the main street in the building which housed the local post office for a number of years and up to May of this year. Since the tragedy, post office services had been available in Kilmacrennan. All services will now return to Chrysler. Weather now mainly dry and sunny today. It will become breezy later, however, with highest temperatures of 12 to 14 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning. The obituary notices for this Tuesday morning, October the 18th. The death has occurred of John Moore, Clonta, Clonmany and formerly Killina, Carberry, County Kildare. His remains will be reposing at his late residence from 2 o'clock this afternoon. Funeral arrangements to be confirmed later. Family time please from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. The death has taken place of Alexander Ali Freen Maharaboy Rafo. His remains are reposing at his late residence. Funeral leaving from there on Thursday afternoon at 1 o'clock for 2 o'clock funeral service in St Junan's Cathedral, Rafo, followed by burial in the family plot in the adjoining graveyard. Family flowers only, donations in lieu to St Junan's Cathedral and the Kidney Dialysis Unit, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member or Terence McClintock, funeral director. The death has taken place of Pat Locke, Rye Manor Cunningham, formerly of Dew Hill Ardra. Pat's remains will be reposing in the Eternal Light Chapel of Rest, Mountain Top, Letterkenny, this evening from 6 until 7:30. Removal from there tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, travelling through Manor Cunningham Village at approximately 9:30, going to the Church of the Holy Family Ardra for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, which can be viewed on mcmmedia.tv. Interment afterwards to the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only please, donations in lieu of flowers if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member. House private please. The death has taken place of Noel O'Dugan, Duggan, Dor Gidor. His remains will repose at Rorty's Funeral Home, Derrybeg, this afternoon from 1 o'clock until 8 o'clock and again tomorrow from 2 until 8 o'clock. Rosary both nights at 8 o'clock. Funeral Mass in St Mary's Church, Derrybeg on Thursday morning at 11 o'clock, followed by burial in Maharagallen Cemetery. The death has taken place of Elizabeth Betty McElhinney, Rohan Cottage, Newton Cunningham. Her remains are reposing at her late residence. Funeral leaving from there tomorrow afternoon at 1:30 for 2 o'clock funeral service in All Saints Parish Church, Newton Cunningham, followed by burial in the family plot in the adjoining graveyard. Family time from 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. Family flowers only please, donations in lieu to Protestant Aid, care of any family member or Terence McClintock, funeral director. The death has occurred of Bernadette McGee, Glenlehan, Fintown. Her remains will be reposing at her late residence in Glenlehan this morning from 11 o'clock. Funeral leaving from there tomorrow morning at 10:15 for Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Drumkeen at 11 o'clock, with interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. And the death has occurred of David Howe, 9, Woodthorpe, Newton Cunningham and formerly Wolverhampton, England. His remains are reposing at All Saints Church, Newton Cunningham. Requiem Mass there this morning at 11 o'clock, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family Flowers only place donations in lieu of desired to the Society of St Vincent de Paul, care of any family member or Murphy Funeral Directors. For more details, including any family house guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
All right, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Good morning. If you're just joining us, where have you been? Anyway, if you ever miss part of the show, you can always listen back to the podcast of the programme on our website, highlandradio.com. We'll watch you back at your leisure, or as they say in America, leisure, on our Facebook and YouTube pages. Coming up shortly, we'll have Community Garda information with Garda Grania Doherty, so stay tuned for that. What is going on and why is the problem not sorted? People boiling water and buying water this past 2 months in Leitrimach Ward catchment area of the water supply. Well, we've chased that up a couple of times. They say, I believe if it's the same issue, they say that they are trying to identify a problem and they'll let us know as soon as it's sorted. It's not good enough. And we spoke to people affected by that in terms of, you know, the reality of trying to run a house on bottled water, the expense, particularly right now when we're, you know, our pounds and our euros aren't going as far as they used to. Why are we talking about the UK? When I lived over in the UK, they never talked about us. We aren't talking about the UK, but it would be naive for us to think that politically, what's politically happening in the United Kingdom, it doesn't affect us. Firstly, there's a lot of people listening to this programme in Derry and Tyrone, for example, who are affected by the policy decisions of Westminster. Their mortgages are going up. So it's also speaking to those listeners and understanding what they're going through, but not least also in terms of the impact, what or who is in power in Britain, the impact it has on things like the Northern Ireland Protocol. There's lots of different reasons. Interested really on the London government's approach to, say, for instance, Scottish independence. I'd have a big interest in Scottish independence and where that conversation is going. That's why, really. Whether they talk about us or not, I don't know. Greg, why is the price of diesel shot up with very little noise about it? It's now $2.09, which is higher than it was when the last noise was about. Yet the price of a barrel of oil has not changed. I'll look into that because I do know there was a spike in the cost of oil. I mentioned this last week. It fell back again. Why is it diesel particularly that's affected? We will get on maybe to our contacts in Fuels Ireland or whatever the name of the organisation is and see if they can offer us a reason as to why. Isn't that the right thing for us to do so that you have an answer? The lack of proper building regulations is possibly similar to the beef issues decades ago, but the mica issue has impacted like nothing else on the people and families. If mica is not sorted and the government survives, we're in a very bad place politically, IMO. Why don't they independently value the houses, compensate the value, i.e. €150,000, then wipe the planning requirements for the site and let the owner flatten the house and build whatever house they want, be that at 50,000 or their own, and build 200,000 house, or stick 50 in the bank and build a 100k house. Job done, everyone happy, government have it out of the way and people have houses. Well, listen, it's not quite the same, but, you know, that would be one way of looking at it. But what the campaigners proposed to the government is that people would be allowed to, say, for instance, the rebuild of a house was 390,000, but they'd have to add an awful lot of money to that because it's not a 100% redress scheme. They said, well, allow us to downsize and take that 390 and build the house that we can for that 390. Therefore, they might not have to go to lenders again. It seemed kind of logical. It's somewhere in the sort of same space of what you're suggesting to some extent. They refuse that. So if they refuse that, what seems like a common sense approach, I can't imagine them writing checks as you suggest, but it would be one way of resolving the issue. But the problem is that you couldn't do it over multi-years, perhaps. I don't know what the argument might be. Greg, look after the countless millions spent on bad pavement says a lot about shoddy concrete companies. Another, any house that has mica can't be sold. Nobody wants any house built in the last 20 years. Where's all the debris going to go when these houses are demolished? Well, I think there's been 14 houses completed so far. Where is the debris going? I don't know. It's another question, actually. Do you know what? That's a question for Councillor McDermott on Thursday, at 11 o'clock. A winter eviction ban is to be introduced until February. It's like something from Dickens. I think it's beyond February, but we mentioned that. Morning, Greg. My mortgage has gone up from 420 to 726. Unbelievable, but what can we do? I'm on a tracker mortgage. Can you switch? I don't know. Some of those tracker mortgages you're locked in, some of them you aren't. I kind of naively thought tracker mortgages were fixed exactly at the European interest rate. I realised subsequently that I know people on tracker mortgages set at 3.6 or 3.8%, so they're starting to really feel the impact of these interest rates movements. There was a time to lock in a mortgage. Maybe still, I don't know. Right, okay, let's take the bingo numbers for those of you waiting on the numbers today. Good luck if you are playing, and well done. You are supporting the National Council for the Blind of Ireland. Money raised locally, spent locally. Over 250,000 you good bingo players have raised so far. Well done.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday, the 18th of October. You're playing on the brown sheet. The reference number is S7. It's game number 42. The numbers are 87, 9, 35, 68, 22, 55, 33, 4, 79, and finally 90. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Green Shoes at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, Market Square in Falcarra, with a new range of great autumn-winter footwear now in stock. Also online at greenshoes.com.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware, with stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre, or online at rmccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice, whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
In 2018, Toyota cut through the confusion, completely ceasing production of diesel passenger cars, lowering harmful emissions and providing certainty for Irish drivers everywhere. And Kelly's Toyota are proud to be part of that hybrid electric journey. Visit Kelly's Toyota, Letterkenny or Mount Charles today to see what makes Toyota Ireland's best-selling car brand in 2021 and 2022. You'll never take a wrong turn with Toyota. Built for a better world. Best-selling claim based on most recent monthly figures.
Hello, Hill 16 Insurance. How can I help you? Up the dubs.
Hi. I am looking for a home insurance quote.
Righto, and what part of Dublin do you live in?
I don't actually live in Dublin.
Right. Do you at least support the dubs?
What? I'm just looking for home insurance.
Well, you're gonna have to keep looking, pal, because Hill 16 is Dublin only.
Do you get the feeling that your insurer doesn't want you? Well, at Local Insurance, we are Irish owned and understand your needs. Call us today for a bespoke quote on 0818 894 444. Local Insurance, we'll get you sorted. The Local Insurance Network, DAC Trading's Local Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Local Insurance is a tied insurance intermediary of Acorn Brokerage Limited. Acorn Brokerage Limited, trading as Acorn Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Over time, it's natural for your hearing not to be as clear as it once was. The good news is, advances in hearing aid technology may offer different solutions. Sabrina Robb here from Donegal Hearing Clinic. We provide peace of mind with hearing issues that affect people of all ages. Contact us for a consultation at Donegal Hearing Clinic on 07491 88470 or visit donegalhearingclinic.ie. Life sounds brilliant with Donegal Hearing Clinic, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
The Donegal Suffolk Sheep Breeders in Lamb Yo sale will take place this Friday, 21st of October at Reformart. The show is at 6 with the sale at 7:30pm. Ram lambs also on offer. Online bidding is available via martbids.ie. That's this Friday at Reformart.
The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91260025.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show for this Tuesday morning. It's the 18th of October and it's the latest edition of Community Garda Information. And we're joined in studio today by Garda Grania Doherty. Thanks for joining us, Grania. I appreciate your time today as always. Right, okay, let's talk of appeals first. And a fatal road traffic collision, which very sadly occurred in Carragart on October 14th. I just might hold you for a second there, Grania, because I just have the wrong mic pressed here and it's just important that people hear you. Right, that should be good now. No, it's not. I beg your pardon. Sorry about this. It's not my fault. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll take a very quick break and we'll come back then to make sure we have the mic working important because it's very important people here. Stay right where you are. Grania will be with us just after this short break.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Green Shoes at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, Market Square in Falcarra, with a new range of great autumn-winter footwear now in stock. Also online at greenshoes.com.
Quilcha cares for Ireland's forests sustainably. As our country seeks to combat climate change, we'll do more. Our ambition is to create new forests, manage our existing forests for greater carbon capture, and provide more habitats to enhance biodiversity. We'll support creating new homes by delivering sustainable Irish wood products. And we'll increase the number of beautiful forest recreation spaces for everyone to enjoy. Quilcha, forests for climate, nature, wood and people, for a greener future for all.
Now, it is the Community Garda slot for this Tuesday, the 18th of October, and it is Garda Grania Doherty in studio with us. Good morning again to you, Grania. And our first appeal is relating to a fatal road traffic collision in Carragart on October 14th.
Yeah, so sadly a tragedy has struck again within the Milford district, and Gardaí and emergency services attended the scene of a single vehicle fatal road traffic collision happened on the R245 in Carragart on the morning of Friday the 14th of October. So this collision occurred just before 8 a.m. The driver was the sole occupant of the vehicle, a man aged in his 40s, and he sadly later passed away as a result of his injuries. So we are appealing to any witnesses or road users who may have dashcam footage who were in that area around that time to make this footage available to Gardaí. Gardaí may be contacted in Milford on 074 9153 060. The Garda confidential lines there as always also 1800 666 111, or you contact any Garda station.
Okay, next appeal is assaults in Burnfoot.
Yeah, at Buncrana Gardaí are investigating a couple of alleged assaults. These took place on Thursday the 13th of October in and around 10 p.m. So this happened in the car park of a closed down licensed premises. This licensed premises is in Sapa, so it's on the Burnfoot to Muff Road. A number of men are believed to have been involved in an incident that took place at that location around that time. So we are appealing to anybody who travelled on that road, the Burnfoot to Muff Road, around that time, and who had a dash cam to make that footage available to Gardaí in Buncrana. And also, if anybody witnessed this incident and can provide any details in relation to it, we also ask them to contact Gardaí in Buncrana on 932 0540, and as always, again, the Garda confidential lines available.
All right, our next appeal is criminal damage in Meadowbank Park.
Yeah, Letterkenny Gardaí are investigating this incident. This incident happened at Meadowbank Park in Letterkenny in the early hours of Sunday the 16th of October, so it's believed to have happened in and around 1:20 a.m. that morning. So a resident in the area had their car parked at the front of their property. Damage was caused to the driver's side window and the rear passenger window of the car. No entry was gained to the car. 3 people, all dressed in dark or black clothing, were observed leaving the scene shortly after. So we appeal to road users who travelled in the area of the Long Lane or within the Meadowbank Park area itself and who had a dash cam again to make the footage available to Gardaí in Letterkenny. Again, anybody that may have witnessed this incident or who may have seen the 3 people in question on foot on the Long Lane or in the Meadowbank Park area to contact Gardaí in Letterkenny on 9167 100.
Okay, now Buncrana Gardaí again, this time investigating criminal damage.
Yeah, so this criminal damage incident happened. Now, a resident of a property reported that fireworks had been thrown at their property. This resulted in the rear windscreen of the car at the property being smashed. So this incident happened at Sledrin, Buncrana, at approximately midnight on Saturday the 15th of October. So we appeal to anybody who has any information in relation to this incident or any fireworks related incidents and the run-up now to Halloween, to contact Gardaí in Buncrana on 9320540.
We might stay on that issue as well too, because unfortunately it's already begun. We are seeing fireworks being let off. There's a lot going on here. Obviously there's the potential injury, and we know the ED department in Letterkenny will see people injured by fireworks. They do every year. But the disruption to residents and their pets or animals as well. So what's the Garda message as it relates to fireworks usage?
Yeah, so Halloween is on the horizon now, and it's coming fast. Next week? And we urge anybody who is thinking about buying or using fireworks to have a serious rethink about that. You know, fireworks and the associated noise can cause great distress, most especially to older people and more vulnerable people. And as you mentioned already, the noise also frightens family pets. And many of these pets run away from home as a result of the noise, and some of them quite simply don't return to their homes. Fireworks are dangerous. They can cause very serious injuries. And we just want to make everybody aware that there are severe criminal penalties for anybody who is found guilty of the offence of igniting an illegal firework, throwing an ignited firework at a person or a property, or possession of illegal fireworks for sale or supply. The penalties are fines of up to €10,000 and 5 years imprisonment. So people may not realise, when they're buying these fireworks and letting them out, they may not realise just how severe, the penalties are. So we just wanted to make them aware.
Especially, a lot of maybe even younger people consume a lot of social media. It might be US based or whatever. There's a far more relaxed attitude towards fireworks in different places, or at least it may appear by their social media. But here, their use can only be done so if it's licensed. And as you say, the penalties are really, really quite severe. And letting off a firework for what? You don't want that to get in the way of maybe you're travelling for work abroad or whatever, or even the financial penalty of it. It's taken very, very seriously here, and those rules are well enforced as well.
Of course, yeah, and you will, as you mentioned, for people who wish to travel or wish to apply for a job, they will have this conviction on their record afterwards. So just think about the consequences and have a good think. And also, there are serious injuries, and each year we do post, usually we post pictures of some of the injuries and things like that, and the emergency department, no doubt this year, we hope it won't be as busy as other years, that people will have a rethink. But they do, and it holds up an awful lot of emergency services, ambulances, the emergency department staff who are already under pressure, and we would just ask everybody to have a rethink, and maybe for parents and guardians, just to have a talk with their young people and talk to them.
Lost eyes, damaged eyes, burns on faces, missing digits. These are all cases that will be reported out of EDs across the country over the next while. All avoidable, completely avoidable, and people getting caught up in a moment and not realising the consequences. We're not here to spoil people's fun, Grania, but we know what happens and what can happen, and that it would be reckless of us not to get that warning out there.
Of course, yeah, and we will have more content on our own Facebook page, as we approach Halloween, and also the Donegal Fire Service every year, they issue warnings and videos in relation to it too. So we would just ask people to make themselves aware of the injuries that can be sustained and are sustained every year, and just most importantly to speak to their young people in relation to it.
Maybe I'm being a little bit forgiving sometimes in my attitude as to the impacts eggs being thrown at houses might have. But that being said, we've had contact from one person who seems to be particularly targeted. I'm not saying where. This appeal's not necessarily linked to that. But there have been an increase in reports, have they, in terms of egg throwing? Again, this is where I'm probably being a little bit too forgiving. I wonder sometimes do those responsible realise the terrible impact they're having on other people. But anyway, what's the nature of the appeal in this regard, Grania?
Of course, yeah. And as I do every week, I went through all the incidents over the past. I actually checked the last fortnight this morning, and I did notice an increase in these sorts of reports. People are having eggs thrown at their houses, at their cars, and this causes, especially if you have an older person living in a house or a vulnerable person, most especially, it causes them massive distress and worry.
Because they feel, as well as anything else, that they're being personally targeted by their community or something as well. It's not just kids thrown. A lot of people feel that this is something against them, and it really worries them, and it affects their sleep and affects their comfort in their own home. This can run really deep for people. That's what I want maybe those responsible to try and understand.
Yeah, and they may not. Look, young people and young people are going, you can't put an old head on young shoulders, and they think that's a bit of fun, but as you've mentioned there, these older people or anybody whose house is targeted by this sort of activity, they do feel that they've been targeted, and they do take it personally, and most especially if it happens a second or a third time, and that causes immense worry for those people. So we would just ask the public, just as always, and I know I don't need to tell the public this, they're very good in this regard. They look out for their neighbours. We would urge people, especially the run up to Halloween now, Halloween itself, please, if you see any sort of antisocial behaviour in your community, or if you see any sort of illegal activity, even something so simple as young people throwing eggs at doors, cars, and it hasn't happened at your property maybe, but you see them doing it across the road or somewhere else, please pick up the phone, call us, give a good description maybe of those involved. And as well as that, if you're travelling along, and this actually happened to me last year, and I didn't have a dash cam and I wished I had, but if you're travelling along, and we often get calls too from people that are out driving, and they'd say maybe, there's a group of youths in whichever area, I see them there, they're throwing eggs at cars, which also, that's another issue. We haven't received any reports of that this year, thank God, to date. But, that could put somebody off the road. That could cause a serious collision. But if you're driving along, you have a dash cam, and you think you may have captured antisocial or illegal activity, coming up to Halloween now, please just come in, make that footage available to us so we can identify those involved, And we would urge anybody who is, sometimes too, people might have eggs thrown at their car or their house, and they think, it doesn't cause permanent damage maybe. They go out, they wash it off, they might not report it to us. Anybody who this has happened to, we would ask them, please do report it to us. Don't feel one bit embarrassed about coming in. It's not trivial in any word of the sense. It'll be treated with most seriousness, and it will be fully investigated.
Because I presume you just follow trends and reports, and if there's a particular problem in a particular area, maybe patrols can be redirected or whatever, you know what I mean? So if you get an idea of what's happening in a particular area for a particular amount of time, you can adjust things in that regard. Okay.
Of course, and if we get a lot of reports within one area in particular, maybe we extra patrols, as you said, are then diverted to that area during the times that these incidents are usually taking place.
It depends on age and a lot of variables. Someone egging a house, what is the crime there as such? Is there a stiff penalty or? Yeah, well,
it's investigated as a criminal damage incident.
It is. It is. It's the same as putting a brick through a window of a car or something.
It's investigated in the exact same manner, even though in these, and it's mostly younger people, and we don't like to pinpoint younger people all the time and point the finger at them, but throwing eggs at houses and cars, it usually is younger groups of people and as I said,
and there's discretion there, and maybe a conversation might be enough, but that's determined. At the time. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Now, Gardaí from the Community Policing Unit are going to be in Buncrana and Moville.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, well, a lot of recent events, understandably have been cancelled and rescheduled. So just to make the public aware that Gardaí from the Community Policing Unit in Buncrana, they'll be at the Moville District Family Resource Centre today, actually, October 18th. They're there today between 12:30 and 1:30. So we would encourage the public to call in. If they want advice, information, maybe the forms that they need stamped, signed. And we would also encourage them to come in, if they want to chat, if they want a friendly chat, they're more than welcome to come in also.
Yeah, okay. Now, another event that has been rescheduled was the property marking event in Dunlop.
Yeah, so this has been rescheduled, so it will now take place at the same location, actually, the Mina Cross Hall in Dunlop. This Friday, October the 21st, will take place between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. Gardaí then from Carndonagh Station will also be property marking at the Inishowen Co-op. That's the Carndonagh branch of the Co-op. They'll be there on Saturday, the following day, between the hours of 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. So as mentioned before, property marking can prevent property being stolen. It can help us return recovered items to the rightful owner. And, I think sometimes maybe people think as well when they hear about these property marking events, they think it's only farm machinery, that it's only for trailers and farm machinery, and that's not the case. A lot of different items can be property marked, from phones to chainsaws, trailers, there's a whole selection of items that can be property marked.
Bikes?
So, bikes as well, yeah.
Electric scooters?
Yeah, nearly every item can be property marked, to be honest. Yeah,
fences?
very few.
I couldn't bring my fence in, could I?
You could try if you if you want. I'm sure they'll mark it for you.
I'll get some look at the door, right? Come here, right? Okay. And we've said before, a lot of stuff is recovered by Gardaí, and then you go, well, how can we prove who owns it to return it? So there's a preventative measure, but there's also reuniting it with its rightful owner. Some stuff has serial marks, and which helps, and serial numbers and stuff, but other stuff doesn't.
Of course, well, especially phones, bicycles, we would get a lot of those into our property store there in Letterkenny, and if it was property marked, it's great. You can just contact the owner directly. Excellent. And just also remind people to bring their correct air code with them also.
100%. Right, okay. Now, an important piece of information went out from Gardaí, and I can really understand the motivation. It's part of routine Garda door-to-door inquiries in the Chrysler area, and of course, particularly with emotions as raw as they are to to have a guard landing at the door and not knowing why might cause further distress. So tell us what's happening and what people could look out for, look out for.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, no, remember, look, the community in Chrysler have seen a Garda presence anyway, over the past week or further, whatever. We just want to make them aware. People, I found over the years, maybe you call to a door, it could be just a routine inquiry. It could be sometimes you call to a door to ask for directions. It could be something as simple as that. And we would find that sometimes, and understandably so, people sometimes do, they get upset or alarm sets in when they see a guard walking down the path of their house.
I think I'd have a turn, honestly, because I'm such a worrier.
Yeah, well, that's it. And look, emotions are so high. And it's a wee community it's devastated at the moment. We totally understand. And we just wanted to make people aware. Routine inquiries, that's what's taking place in Chrysler at the moment. We don't want to cause upset or alarm. Gardaí are calling door to door. They will be for the coming weeks. Over the course of the coming weeks, they will be calling door to door. We wanted to make residents aware of that, and we posted it to our social media page, and we just wanted to make those, especially who aren't on social media, aware. We don't want to call in cases where people aren't aware of our intention to call by their house. So in the Chrysler area, over the coming weeks, Gardaí will be calling door to door. We don't wish to cause panic, and they are there as part of routine inquiries. So we just wanted to put their minds at ease that if they do see a guard coming down the pathway to their house, that's the reason for their visit.
Okay. Right now, I think it's really a case of the road is going to stay closed as long as it needs to stay closed to allow this very complex investigation to happen, whichever group of individuals are pursuing it. So the road is going to remain closed for some time. Is that correct?
That's correct. Look, we don't have a date yet for the road to reopen, but we just wish to remind all road users that the traffic diversions are in place. They remain in place. And we wish to advise motorists, perhaps who aren't from that area and are intending to travel to the area, that these diversions are still in place. We advise people to take alternative routes. So the N56 in Chrysler does remain closed to all road users. Diversion routes are via the N56 R255 junction in Termon, the R251 the back of the Errigal Road, and the R256 the Muckish Road. All diversions in and around Chrysler Village are for local traffic only. So we just wanted to reiterate that, make people aware.
Okay. Right, and then there are diversions in and around Chrysler Village, but that's for the local traffic
That's
only.
for local traffic only.
I get you. And so you have to say, for instance, the back of Errigal, it's quite some distance back from Chrysler, so people need to be aware and keep their eye out for those signs and plan the journeys.
They do. And can I just mention one more thing just before I
course.
go, Greg? And I heard you talk about it earlier, actually, I think with Lee this morning. I was on my way and I was tuned in about the fog. The fog this morning. The fog was atrocious this morning. And as you're aware, you were in early yourself. But just to make people aware, I noticed a lot of cars coming towards me in the road this morning had no fog lights on, and in patches of very dense fog, the visibility was very poor. So we would ask people to make sure that they're aware before they set off on their journey, and they're aware that there is fog there. Just make yourself aware of where these switches are. Ensure that you know where your front and rear fog lights are, and
because they aren't dependent on the car. They're not that simple actually to know which one, because it's like a light with dashes going back or forwards. You make yourself aware of which one is which, because it's something until I changed my car, it's a bit more clearer. My older car, I've had to think about it.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
You don't. And the last time that I changed my car, actually, was coming to work one morning. There was fog, and I pulled in at the side of the road to try and flick. I was flicking the switch because I didn't want to continue any further without, and I wasn't sure where the switches were. So just our advice is, before you leave home and there is fog there, you're aware visibility is going to be poor, familiarise yourself with where the fog lights are, turn them on, and of course when the fog clears and you're in a clear patch stretch of road again, please turn the fog lights off and just keep a good distance from the car in front. Also just make sure that you have a good distance kept from them.
And would you suggest people, especially with fog and then it's dawn, right, would you suggest people drive with their dips on at least? I mean, there's no reason why not to. That always baffles me, really. Do you know, when you see a car just appear out of somewhere and you go, why are the lights not on? There's no cost associated with it.
Yeah, well, of course, especially that period in the morning where it's just turning bright, and it's not quite bright yet, of course. The advice would be to have your dip lights on, so that you can see also, so that you're aware, if you come upon a cyclist or a pedestrian on a road, your visibility's improved.
But also it triggers, say for instance someone is walking in high vis, it triggers the high vis as well. That's another reason why it's important just to have them on, even if it seems to be relatively clear, because your lights are often what will illuminate someone's high vis.
Of course, yeah, and it makes you as a motorist more visible to others also, which is important.
Okie doke. Listen, thanks very much for that, Grania, as
Thank
always.
you.
I really appreciate it. That is Garda Grania Doherty there. That was the Community Garda information item on Highland Radio for this Tuesday, the 18th of October. It's back with you next Tuesday after the news at 10.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Green Shoes at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, Market Square in Falcarra, with a new range of great autumn-winter footwear now in stock. Also online at greenshoes.com.
Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure, Main Street, Letterkenny. Women's clothing from your favourite sports brands: Nike, Under Armour and Adidas. Nike Performance quarter zips, tees and vests with matching Nike Pro shorts and tights. Nike Yoga range just arrived. Tees, bra tops and tights, offering you support during your workout. New jackets, hoodies and tights, helping you to look the part and play the part. In-store and online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
Listen up, pet lovers. Feed your pets for less at Pet Value Buncrana. Get Burns dog food 20% off. James Well-beloved dog food 15 kg was €73.80, now only €60. Whiskas 40 pouch cat food only €16. Whiskas 7 kg complete cat food only €20. Get more value at Pet Value. St Mary's Road, Buncrana. Open 7 days a week. Find us on Facebook.
Londonderry and Letterkenny Chambers are hosting a CB Pez Employers Incentives Lunch for cross-border employers on Tuesday, 25th of October at the Millennium Forum from 12 noon. Receive information and advice from a range of business support organisations. Book your free place by emailing Wendy at londonderrychamber.co.uk.
Your specialty is quality tiles, bathroom suites and wooden floors. Who is the best range of tiles in Donegal?
Crawford Tiles.
The best wood flooring?
Crawford Tiles.
The best bathroom suites?
Crawford Tiles.
5-day bathroom refits?
Crawford Tiles.
And who's been tampering with my questions?
That'll be me.
Crawford Tiles, Castlefin. That'll be them. 07491 43942.
You might think you know the wild Atlantic way, but maybe it's time for a closer look. Stand tall at the towering edge of the world and discover adventure, rugged and wild. Leap from the mainland with an escape to Valentia Island, or take a bite out of sparkling city life in Galway before finding sanctuary among the wilderness of Wildneffin Ballycoy National Park. The Wild Atlantic Way, yours to explore. Keep discovering at discoverireland.ie.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Nice message here. Hi, Greg from Chrysler, and spoken to a number of Garda, and they come across as so friendly and sympathetic. Okay, nice to hear that. Greg, I live on the Thorn Road, and over the last few weeks, the noise coming from the water plant is unbearable, wakes us up at night and becoming more frequent. Can you ask your listeners who we contact over this, the council, etc.? Irish Water perhaps would have stewardship over that, but you know what? I'd contact everyone. Contact your local councillor, contact Irish Water, and also contact the council itself. And we'll give us more details. We'll make some inquiries on your behalf too. Attended a meeting in Dillon's Hotel with the Palestinian ambassador to Ireland last night. I personally don't believe the Irish government is doing enough compared to other countries, etc. Just this morning, and the new government in Australia has reversed its policy to recognise West Jerusalem as Israel's capital. And why no sanctions on Israel yet? Our government, as part of EU and de facto NATO, have no problems imposing them on Russia, not even a proposed boycott of Israeli goods. Total hypocrisy, says Jim. Let's play a couple of requests here, shall we? For our granny and granda, Jimmy and Bridget McAteer, they're in Fanad, who are 50 years married today. Half a century together, Jimmy and Bridget. Have a lovely day from Emer, Ciara and Oisín. From Ran, Emer, Ciara and Oisín, I believe that is. Hugh Brendan McDyers in Glenty. He's celebrating his 70th birthday today. Happy birthday, Hugh. Lots of love from Dee and Noreen and Nana Gray. Another one for Hugh, 7 today. This one is from Dennis, and they want to hear some Jimmy Buckley. Should we play some Jimmy Buckley? We'll play. I'll tell you what we'll do. I'll take a quick break that I have to take, and then we'll come back with the music, and I'll line up some Jimmy Buckley. Why not?
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Green Shoes at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, Market Square in Falcarra, with a new range of great autumn-winter footwear now in stock. Also online at greenshoes.com.
Have you bought your NCBI Radio Bingo book yet? Contribute to this fantastic charity and be in with a chance to win daily cash prizes of €400. Books are now available from your local retailer.
Food from Donnybrook Fair is now available in Donegal exclusively at Kelly Central, Letterkenny. Freshly prepared everyday meals made using the finest of ingredients with no additives or preservatives. Fresh juices and sauces, cookies, brownies made using 100% Belgian chocolate and much more. Great food from the Donnybrook Fair kitchen, now available in Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
If something's free, why would you turn it down? I mean, a free haircut from a 5-year-old. Oh, no. Or a free sample of onion paste. Oh. Well then, how about a free tour of your neighbour's new shed? Oh, sounds, well... OK, look, they were bad examples. But how about a free eye test and free glasses from the €69 range at Specsavers with your PRSI? Well, that sounds like something to smile about.
Book an appointment or find out more at specsavers.ie.
Your autumn getaway awaits in Ards and North Down. Just minutes from Belfast, this stunning region is the place for great value short breaks. Embrace the water's edge with adventures on both land and sea. Explore picturesque towns and villages. Visit top-class attractions and sample delicious local food and drink. Experience a relaxing stay and a warm welcome this autumn. For details, offers and the chance to win a £300 voucher towards your break, go to visitardsandnorthdown.com.
Keep your garden in shape all year round with top quality garden equipment from Garden Care at Gallina's Letterkenny Tool Hire. A great selection of leaf blowers, hedge cutters, chainsaws and much more for sale or hire. There's a full backup and repair service, including chains and bars for all makes of chainsaws. Gallina's Letterkenny Tool Hire at Mountaintop, Letterkenny, your local Garden Care dealer. Garden Care, your pathway to a beautiful garden.
Don't just do okay in your career. Do great at Allstate. Don't settle. Soar. Don't procrastinate. Innovate. Don't do mediocre. Do magnificent. At Allstate. Great work. Great life. Great people. Where great opportunities await. Search Allstate NI Careers today.
That was Jimmy Buckley. Right, our next guest on the programme is Trevor Keppel, who's Community Sponsorship Development Officer with the Irish Refugee Council. Good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us.
Morning, Greg. Great to speak to you. And firstly, I'd just like to express our deep sympathies to the families and friends of all of those who lost their lives in the Chrysler tragedy earlier this month.
Okay, and we appreciate those words, Trevor. Thank you for that. I'm speaking to you this morning as you are hosting Helping Irish Hosts on Thursday the 20th of this month. It's at 7 p.m. in the CoLab Seminar Room in the A2 in Letterkenny. So what is the purpose beyond what I've just said of this meeting?
Yeah, it's really to support and recognise and acknowledge the community work that's happening out there across Donegal to welcome refugees. I work for the Irish Refugee Council. We provide a range of supports for refugees and people seeking protection in Ireland. We work on a project called Community Sponsorship, which allows for communities really to play a central role in welcoming and supporting refugees. And this program has welcomed over 30 families into Irish communities. We've learned a lot through this program, and we're working with partners locally, the Donegal Intercultural Platform, the Donegal Local Development Company. And I know that a power of work has been done to support newcomers across the county, and we're really keen to acknowledge this work and share our expertise, and also really just learn from the experiences of welcoming newcomers into the county, and all of the great work that's been doing out there.
Is there any concern that goodwill, might be falling off in terms of those that are prepared to get involved? Because there's a bit of a pushback at the moment. Of course, the refugee crisis is being, associated with the housing crisis and what have you. Are you concerned that the sort of the negative anti-refugee comments and some of the actions that we're seeing, Z's being painted on roads and stuff, I'm sure that would fall under this umbrella. Are you concerned then that people might think that it's a toxic environment to get involved in, and you might not have quite as many people who are prepared to help and welcome refugees?
Not really, not what we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of work being done around communities, and particularly rural communities in Donegal. We obviously recognise that there's high numbers of people moving to Donegal, and they should be met with community infrastructure to support them. There is a housing crisis across the board, and we recognise that. We know that the services, particularly in rural areas, are particularly stretched in Donegal, have been for some time. But what this event is about, really, it's not about the state providing accommodation. It's really about Irish welcome and celebrating the Irish welcome. And we know that people are stepping up, and we know that we want to support them, and we want to encourage others, particularly people that are making the really profound commitment to actually share their home. And we know, as I said, we know that there's a lot of numbers of people being transferred by the state to Donegal. We want to support local efforts. So this event is not so much about the overall picture, it's about how we can support locally. We want to make sure that hosts feel supported while they accommodate people, that they don't feel like they're doing it alone.
Okay, well, with that in mind then, what kind of then supports can you or do you offer then?
Yeah, so we're going to have a panel of experts there, as I said, from local agencies, as well as from including the Intercultural Platform, the Local Development Company in Donegal, and also the Red Cross, and grassroots organisations like Helping Irish Hosts that have sprung up since Ukraine. We have experts in the room which will cover topics like safeguarding, understanding how you can manage the relationship, understanding the legal basis of hosting arrangements and sharing your home, looking at and recognizing trauma, potential trauma, and self-care, and then also some of the state supports that are there, recognition payments, and things like that. So we'll go through a lot of those, and we'll also have a chance to hear from local hosts about a particular local host who will make an appearance and I suppose tell us about their experience, and also refugees will be there to actually, Ukrainian refugee were there to share their experience about finding a safe home with a Donegal family. So there'll be a lot covered in the event. We really encourage people to come along who are interested or who are currently working to support refugees, and we'll hopefully to see you there.
All right, and this is a scheme that's already been seen in other parts of the country, so you're not reinventing the wheel here. You know what works, you know what needs to be talked about, and how people can be helped.
We're not reinventing the wheel. This has been part of the picture of accommodating refugees really for 10 years, over 10 years since the Syrian crisis. I suppose the scale of it is much bigger this year, but we have got a lot of expertise and learnings from the community sponsorship program around welcoming, supporting refugees, knowing what you're getting into, understanding what you can do, what you can't do, where are the state supports, where, as I said, you shouldn't feel like you're doing this alone. And so we will provide a lot of guidance around that for the event. But it's really about celebrating and supporting hosts out there and people that are sharing their home and encouraging others to do so. We've seen great results in this way, where people really understand what the refugee process is like, as opposed to just seeing it on the TV, you know.
Yeah, I get you. Okay, now the event is on Thursday, the 20th. That's the day after tomorrow. It's at 7 p.m. in the CoLab Seminar Room in A2 Letterkenny, and people can just roll up on the evening, or do you need pre-registration, Trevor?
We're encouraging people to register. We've already got quite a few registrations. There's an Eventbrite link, but you can turn up on the night. You'll be very welcome. There'll be tea and coffee and biscuits. It's a 2-hour event, and we hope that you'll find it really useful, and we encourage anyone that's interested to come along.
Yeah, and that could be people who aren't currently hosting refugees but want to know some information about doing so as well. So that's, that is a potential host families also.
Yeah, exactly. We have the Helping Irish Hosts people will be there. We'll be hoping to sign people up and to give them basically a roadmap of how it will work. And so we're looking to recruit more people that are interested in doing this. As I said, we see great results in it, and it's really avoiding that kind of institutional living, which we know in Ireland doesn't work. So community welcome works, and that's what we're trying to encourage.
And just to clarify, you have already twice, I believe, it's not related to the state-provided accommodation or commercial interests. It's to support hosts in the community to willing to accommodate refugees temporarily in their homes. There's a great deal of people out there, and they've contacted us regularly, that have concerns about how some refugees are being housed, the amount of people per room, what kind of facilities available to them. You know, there's a genuine humanitarian concern amongst the public. I know your focus is on, the community sponsorship development, but is that something that you can talk about or talk to? I know the Refugee Council has released statements in the last couple of weeks, but what can you say to people who are concerned, for the welfare of the refugees?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're obviously there's a major housing crisis across the board. We have a situation where the kind of standards have dropped, and we recognize that, and we see that. We this week released a report. We're advocating to the government for increased standards all the time. Our proposed solutions to this are contained in our accommodation crisis report, which has been published recently. I'd encourage you to have a look at that. But as I said, the focus of the event won't be on commercial gain.
I understand.
It won't be. Yeah, it won't be.
That's why I clarified that before I asked you that final question, because I don't want to conflate or I want the people that this is for to attend. Okay, Trevor, thanks for your time this morning. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, bye-bye. Take care of yourself. All right, that is Trevor Keppel, Community Sponsorship Development Officer with the Irish Refugee Council. We're going to head to news now.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Green Shoes at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, Market Square in Falcarra, with a new range of great autumn-winter footwear now in stock. Also online at greenshoes.com.
Wetsuit on and underwater by air.
Aprons on, breakfast orders in, conversation flowing, loving every second.
Every day is different. There's always new faces. It really suits me.
It fits my schedule. I can see friends, do my yoga, balance work with life and enjoy both.
My career in tourism works for me.
And mine works for me.
Get a career in tourism that works for you. Visit tourismcareers.ie. Brought to you by Fáilte Ireland.
Breedon's Furniture, Cooley Maville. With over 40 years of experience in furniture and floor coverings, they've got Irish-made furniture, suites, beds, mattresses, dining, flooring, slide robes and occasional furniture. Great prices and large selection now available at Breedon's Home Furnitures, Cooley Maville.
Quilcha cares for Ireland's forests sustainably. As our country seeks to combat climate change, we'll do more. Our ambition is to create new forests, manage our existing forests for greater carbon capture, and provide more habitats to enhance biodiversity. We'll support creating new homes by delivering sustainable Irish wood products. And we'll increase the number of beautiful forest recreation spaces for everyone to enjoy. Quilcha, forests for climate, nature, wood and people, for a greener future for all.
Thinking of changing your car for a new car? Get ahead of the queue. It's time to order your new 2023 Kia today. With an award-winning range of vehicles, your next car will be a Kia, we are sure of it. Visit Letterkenny or Malin or imotors.ie.
Join John Breslin and the Highland Radio broadcast team this Thursday live from the Inishowen Credit Union's Moville office to celebrate their first anniversary on International Credit Union Day. John will be talking about the importance of credit unions to their local community. That's this Thursday around the Northwest, live from the Inishowen Credit Union in Moville.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by Grant. From condensing boilers to heat pumps and underfloor heating, trust Grant to heat your home. Visit grant.eu.
Okay, mainly dry and sunny today. It'll become breezy later with moderate east to south-east winds increasing fresh to strong. Highest temperatures today of 12 to 14 degrees. Rain will develop overnight and turn heavy with a risk of flooding. By morning, lowest temperatures of 7 to 9 degrees with fresh to strong breezes. Okay, it is 11 o'clock, so let's get a news update. And we say good morning now to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Gardaí have renewed their appeal for information on a fatal crash in Carrigart last week. Seamus Rogers, who was in his 40s, was the sole occupant of the vehicle involved in the collision just before 8 a.m. on Friday last. He died as a result of his injuries. Routine door-to-door inquiries are continuing in Chrysler. Gardaí are expected to continue their inquiries in the area over the coming weeks as part of investigations into the explosion on Friday, October the 14th. The road through the village is expected to remain closed for a number of weeks yet. The Finance Minister says he's bringing changes to the proposed concrete block at levy to Cabinet this morning. The charge on concrete products has been heavily opposed by the construction sector since it was announced on Budget Day. The Construction Industry Federation says building levies to fund the MICA redress scheme should be aimed at manufacturers. A review into the Junior Cert exam process will be undertaken by the Department of Education. It comes as fourth-year students were told today they'd receive their marks on the 23rd of November, 5 months after they sat their exams. Armed Gardaí are stationed outside the Criminal Courts of Justice complex where the trial of Jerry the Monk Hutch is due to get underway shortly. Following an unsuccessful legal challenge to have his case heard before a jury, his murder trial will be heard before the non-jury Special Criminal Court. Investigations are continuing into a number of alleged assaults in Burnfoot. A number of men are believed to have been involved in an incident in the car park of a closed licensed premises at Sapa on Thursday last at 10 p.m. Gardaí meanwhile are on the hunt for 3 people seen fleeing the scene of a criminal damage incident in Letterkenny. On Sunday last at around 1:20 a.m, damage was caused to the driver's side window and rear passenger window of a car parked in the Meadowbank Park area. And Gardaí in Donegal are reminding people of the consequences of igniting an illegal firework, throwing an ignited firework at a person or property, and possessing illegal fireworks with intent to sell or supply. It's after fireworks were reported to have been thrown at a property in Buncrana in the early hours of Saturday morning last. The windscreen of a car parked at the property was smashed as a result. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
Okay, Michaela, thank you.
Quilcha cares for Ireland's forests sustainably. As our country seeks to combat climate change, we'll do more. Our ambition is to create new forests, manage our existing forests for greater carbon capture, and provide more habitats to enhance biodiversity. We'll support creating new homes by delivering sustainable Irish wood products. And we'll increase the number of beautiful forest recreation spaces for everyone to enjoy. Quilcha, forests for climate, nature, wood and people. For a greener future for all.
Okay, you're welcome back. Coming up in this hour, we'll be joined by a representative from the Red Cross. There has been a remarkable response from people in Donegal, in Ireland, across the world to the awful Chrysler tragedy. A massive amount of money has been raised. And a lot of people want to know how that would be administered. And as much is decided now and has been agreed now, we'll get clarification, not clarification, there's no controversy as such. We'll get that information from the Red Cross so that you know where your money's going and how it will be spent if you were one of those that donated to your post office or what have you. Okay, let's go back to the issue of defective concrete blocks. Joseph is with us. Hi, Joseph.
Hello.
Right.
Hello, Greg.
How are you getting on now, Joseph? Come here. I mean, you have an insight, don't you, really, into regulation, and I suppose regulation in Ireland compared to the likes of Britain.
That's right, Joe. Greg, sorry. I worked in England in 1962 for Wumpy. They're a concrete construction group, and their main thing was building houses, pure concrete, shuttering them. And every day after midday or something, they took away a sample of the concrete for testing.
That was done every day.
Every day, it took away a sample for testing. 1962.
Wow! And that was to test the composition, presumably, of the concrete to make sure what minerals should be there are there and what aren't there. Really, that's some level of oversight, isn't it? That's impressive.
That's 60 years ago. So I don't know how long that's gone on for. Could maybe a couple of 100 years ago. I was talking to a guy there from Northern Ireland. There, he works for this firm there. And this was last year in Ulster, and I think it was mid Northern Ireland somewhere. And they do concrete works, and so the way all these export to England, all this products to do, you know. But they got word back last year that they weren't taking nothing from the Republic of Ireland or Northern Ireland because there's no regulation.
Or they weren't happy with the regulation, presumably.
No, they wouldn't accept no contact from none of them.
There's
no regulation in Northern Ireland or the Republic of Ireland.
Yeah, but we were.
Now, I was listening to your experts there
earlier
on, saying this, and they were talking about this, that, and other, and Canada and all this. You know, all they got to do is get in contact with England, who have hundreds of years of experience of concrete products. You know, the meeting and the scientists all talking this and other. Lift the phone and get in contact with English, who are very experienced in it, you know.
You see, the problem is the people that we were speaking to earlier, they know all of what you're talking about, and they are amongst those that are campaigning for regulation here. I mean, I asked the Housing Minister, Darragh O'Brien, on this programme, can he guarantee us that defective blocks aren't being produced in quarries right now? And the answer was pretty much a no. I was speaking to another person involved in the industry that represents the industry and asked him if he was building his own house now and they had the choice of sourcing materials from Donegal or Galway, which would he choose? And he said Galway. You know, so we're still not there, obviously, in terms of people having faith in the oversight of what's being produced right now.
Sorry, Greg. Sorry I interrupt you. It doesn't matter what county you take them from because there's no regulation in any county.
Yes, I understand.
You understand?
Yeah, I do.
Unless you get the experts. England is only a phone call away, and they're talking about Canada and all these other countries. They're hundreds of years into this concrete products and building all these concrete houses. They're doing it for hundreds of years. I mean, Ireland have no regulation yet. This could go on for another 50 years, no regulation.
Would you build a concrete block house now if you had the, if you were looking for a new place to live? Would you build it with Irish concrete blocks, Joseph?
No, not from Northern Ireland or all over Ireland. No way. There's no regulation. It's just pot luck, Greg.
Yeah.
You're getting away with it because there's no regulation. It's just you're lucky. It's probably soft rock is the cause of it. Do you see years ago when this firm around the show was doing concreting, they had hard concrete. They had hard rock. Now, probably a softer rock. I'm no expert, nothing like that. But I think it could be softer rock the cause of it.
But I mean, I suppose regardless of what raw materials you're using, if there's proper testing of the blocks afterwards, it would give you some idea of their strength. I was talking to someone not so long ago, and I'm not saying where the blocks came from, but it was a person that was working with the blocks, and they said they were like butter. But anyway, you would hope that something is being done to stop this happening again into the future. But Joseph, thanks for your insight. That was 62. Hard to work out, but that's almost 60 years ago. That
60 years ago, exactly.
Shuttered concrete was being tested daily to ensure that it was of a standard.
Well, I did explain to you about Northern Ireland. People are getting concrete from Northern Ireland, think it's okay, but it's not. There's no regulation there either.
Well, I don't know the ins and outs of that, but that's your view. And Joseph, thanks for sharing it with us today. 086 60 25,000, the WhatsApp and text number there. Who in these days can afford to throw good food at cars? Yeah, I know what you're saying, but there's lots of people buying lots of different stuff, and they might not see a carton of eggs as or maybe they've found them or they've nicked them out of their parents' fridge, who's to say. Greg, the people selling these cars should make the person buying the vehicle aware what all the switches are for. I get you, but, I try and talk about my real lived world experience, okay? And I've always struggled, up until relatively recently, to determine the difference in a split second. Once you're driving and you lean over to do it, because sometimes you leave and there's no fog, right? And as you travel, there becomes fog. Sometimes I've struggled to make out which of these two buttons is for the front-facing fog lights and which is for the rear, and what's the corresponding colour on the dashboard. And do you know what? I could probably be told it 10 times, but unless the icons were a bit clearer to me, and I'm just being honest, as I try and be as much as I can, I have to think twice as to, was that the front ones, or is that on, or is that off, or where's the light for it, or what have you, all right? But as I say, that is just me. The taxes on diesel is higher. They're effectively pricing diesel out of the market. They want you to get an electric car or a hybrid car. They're going to ban petrol diesel cars by the year 2030, the new production of them. Hybrid cars will be banned by 2035. They're anticipating around 800 million electric vehicles will be in production by then. And look at, the companies themselves. There's more hybrid electric cars now being sold than diesel and petrol. I believe that's the case. So the companies themselves are not going to continue to produce, diesel cars for much longer, are they? I know Volvo were amongst some of the first to stop the production of diesel cars. I can't understand why the government has decided to pay the electricity allowance of €600 to owners of holiday homes. I can tell you why, because, and this is the argument the government made, if they were to try and come up with a system whereby, I think the cost is 27 million, is it 27 million? They say that it would cost more and it would delay the process if they tried to figure out a way of excluding holiday homes. That was effectively what I heard Eamon Ryan say. It's not perfect, but we're going to take the €27 million hit because it means we can get this scheme implemented and it means we don't have to work out an expensive alternative. But anyway, the caller then goes on to say their annual bill probably won't be much more. I expect they will also pay holiday home owners who haven't paid their second home property tax. Another case of the government looking after the rich. Some of us are lucky to have even one home. Yeah, indeed. But I think that's the argument that's being made. Could anyone tell us what nationality are the people who moved into accommodation in my area, as they don't appear to be from Ukraine, so we're accepting mass amounts from other countries too. Why are electric companies making us pay a standing charge? What's the purpose of it? Surely they're making enough huge profits without a standing charge. Well, they increased the standing charge recently. Looking at diesel prices from Donegal to Galway last Thursday saw the litre prices from 206.9 to a low of 191.9 in Mayo. Look at, whatever, I'm not trying to justify the prices, but it'll be probably 206.9 in Mayo soon. It depends when it's brought in. Some of the cheaper suppliers, say for instance around Donegal, their prices have gone up over €2, while some of the more expensive ones are still at like 198, right? But I imagine the cheaper ones are selling more product, and it's what they buy it at, and they probably got a delivery more recently, and they had to factor in the increased cost today. And those that were perhaps ordinarily more expensive, they still have stock of the cheaper diesel, but I imagine their prices will be going up as well. I don't think routinely anymore that you're going to save 14 cents per litre between counties. I just don't know if that's the case any longer. But it just depends when they get their most recent deliveries and at what price seems to determine the price that we pay. The time that we pay, the price we pay. All right, so finally, some good news. Belated good news. We know now when many of you out there are going to be getting your junior cert results. We're going to be telling you about that and talking about that after these.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Green Shoes at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, Market Square in Falcarra, with a new range of great autumn winter footwear now in stock. Also online at greenshoes.com.
Have you bought your NCBI Radio Bingo book yet? Contribute to this fantastic charity and be in with a chance to win daily cash prizes of €400. Books are now available from your local retailer.
Your next move matters, so why not move better? Start your move to permanent TSB today. Apply in-app for our award-winning current account. So don't just move bank, move better. Apply in-app today. Applications for Explore Current Account in-app in sole name for over 18 personal customers. Residents of Republic of Ireland only. Fees and charges, terms and conditions apply. Awarded Bunkers.ie Best Current Account 2022. Permanent TSB PLC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Tourism businesses have a brand new mark of employer excellence, driven by the employee's voice. The Employer Excellence Programme recognises employers who consistently create better workplaces for their employees. Attract and retain top talent. Shine the spotlight on your business. The Employer Excellence Programme. Learn more at falterireland.ie.
If you're thinking of changing your washing machine, consider the brilliant 8kg 1400 spin washer from Blomberg. Raymond Sweeney here at Ben Sweeney Euronics. If you often need laundry washed in a hurry, this brilliant washing machine will get your daily clothes clean and fresh in under 30 minutes, saving money on your energy bills and giving you back valuable time. It also comes with a 7-year parts and labour warranty for peace of mind. Call in to us and see for yourself at Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, or in the shopping centre Dunlop.
Celebrating the 25th anniversary of the first Joe Dolan Bundoran Music Festival, a spectacular Christmas party night at the Allingham Arms Hotel on Friday, December the 16th, with the sensational Joe Dolan Show, Remembering Joe, featuring 5 vocalists with the Dolan family and the original Joe Dolan Band, cabaret, dinner and accommodation if required. Now booking at the Allingham Arms or online at showtours.ie. Revive the 90s in Bundoran on December the 16th at the Allingham.
All right, how would you fancy winning a pair of Dewberry leather boots? Dewberry's a top Irish brand, by the way, and they're new this season at Green's Shoes, with a great selection of top quality shoes and boots now available in store and online as well. The programme this week being brought to you in association with Green Shoes, Letterkenny and Falcarra. So how are you going to win a pair of Dewberry leather boots? Well, you answer this question and text in your answer. So the question is, finish this phrase. Put your best foot, is it A, forward, or B, to the left? Right, okay. Text your answer, A or B, after the word hi, plus your... I'll start this again. Text to WhatsApp the word hi, H-I-G-H, plus your answer, name and address to 086 60 25,000. Standard text rates apply, but if you want to do it on WhatsApp, it's free to you, and I think most packages now allow you to send texts to regular text numbers, which that is. But you may incur a charge if it's out of your contract. That's all I'm saying to you. So if you want a pair of Dewberry leather boots, you're in with a chance by answering this question. Put your best foot, A, forward, or B, to the left. Right, C to the right. I'd have just stuck it in there anyway, just for the crack. But anyway, it's A or B. I think you know the answer. Text it to us. We'll make the draw shortly. Right, okay. The State Examinations Commission will issue the 2022 Junior Cert results on Wednesday, the 23rd of November. Ellen Griffin is Donegal Regional Officer of the Irish Second Level Students' Union, currently a TY student. Completed your Junior Cert, didn't you, Ellen, 3 or 4 months ago? A long wait to get the results, Ellen, but we have a date now, I suppose.
Yeah, it was a very long wait. I think for most students, they've been asking me a lot of questions because they think that I would know, obviously being a part of the ISSU, I would know more about the exam results and the date that was coming, the date they were coming out. But unfortunately, we've kind of been left in the dark with it until today.
And this has had a big impact on many groups, but I'm thinking those maybe who switched transition year and wanted to find out how they fared in certain subjects. They could work with their career guidance teacher and see where they're going. Others that needed those results for, apprenticeships or what have you. But also respect for the students who put in all the effort and wanted to know how they got on.
Exactly. I mean, everybody put in so much effort. I can know from, my friends and experience that I've had. We put in so much work, especially because of COVID, because we went into lockdown when we were all in first year. So a lot of our theory and everything we had to learn was done by ourselves. But especially for those who are in fifth year now and did skip transition year, they have found that they've come to me and discussed how difficult it was. And because they don't know what they got in their exams. So they couldn't associate that with their subject choices. And they're kind of left once again in the dark without knowing what they're best at or what their weaknesses are.
Yeah, exactly. And as I said, it's just a sense of feeling that you're important. You know what I mean? Like, and I think a lot of and let's not forget too, they're behind you now. You're heading into what's the biggest exam of your life, I'm sure, the Leaving Cert. But for a lot of students, the Junior Cert, the Junior Cycle was one of the biggest things in their life for many people. They've been building themselves up to it, doing their best to do as best as they can. And then for this period of time afterwards, it makes you feel like, well, am I not important? And I think I mentioned that already. But we have a date now, November 23rd. It's not ideal, but it's a date, Ellen.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's better late than never, but still there's been outrage really with all the students because it has made everybody feel like we're unnoticed because we just haven't known anything. Nothing has been told to anyone. But it's good that we have a final date now to kind of, ballpark it, see how we got on, but a lot of people are still very upset that it is so late.
Yeah, exactly. And we'd hope that this is the last year of this, that it's not allowed to happen again. Whatever reform is required, there's a lot of people getting paid an awful lot of money to try and organise this better, and we hope they do that, don't we, Ellen, for the generations to follow you guys?
Yes, of course. I mean, I hope for next year, well, this year's third years, that they have the results, a long time before we did, a long time before November, just for them themselves. And it's been so long since we sat the exams that most people can't even remember what they think went well for them or what didn't. It's just been that long, and I wouldn't want this to happen to anyone else.
Yeah, for sure. Ellen, thank you. Are you enjoying transition year so far? Of course, obviously.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing.
Good.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it to anyone.
For sure. All right, Ellen, take care of yourself. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Now, someone asked me what was the delay on social media, and I just about to come on air, and I said it's because there weren't the teachers didn't want to do it. Well, lo and behold, that angered an awful lot of people that I was stirring the pot, that it wasn't much more. I know that. We discuss it all the time on this programme. Not fantastic examples shown in some of the comments. Certainly the comments I received privately anyway. Hope they're not teachers anyway, and I hope they don't sort of teach students that this is how to respond. I would have used it as an opportunity actually to educate people as to the facts. But the reality is there has been historically a shortage of teachers, and I know fine well the reasons why. I support teachers. And that is because a lot of them were messed about with how it was being scheduled. Others, because of the way the system is set up, teachers are just like us. They've got students going on to third level and what have you. They're maybe applying for SUSI grants. The money that they can earn to do the state a favour, for example, can push them over certain limits, and they can lose SUSI grants and other benefits. I know all that. I think that most people understand that. It's up to teachers to decide what they do. It's not part of their job, is it? So I can understand why teachers would be on edge and would have the response, some of them, that they did. But, at the end of the day, I think these are opportunities to get the message out there rather than sort of go into attack mode. But be that as it may, the Department of Education, the powers that be, are going to have to come up with a system whereby teachers are encouraged, because they feel that the work they're doing in marking these exams, and there are others that do it that aren't teachers, by the way, but they feel that their work is appreciated in terms of finding a way to do it whereby they don't lose out in other areas if they do it, but they're not messed about either, because they have worked all year and probably are glad of the break. There's nothing to compel teachers to do as far as I'm aware. Right, okay, 086 60 25,000, that is the WhatsApp and text number, 086 60 25,000, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000, 074 91 25,000. Any idea how long it takes to get a street light fixed, asked a caller. It is not included in my property tax. No, it's not at all. Street light's been out for 6 weeks. I've been phoning every week since it's gone out. I'm told that we will be getting someone out to fix it. It's getting dark and we're worried about being targeted at Halloween. Would you tell us more precisely where that is? All right, you're tuned to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio with me, Greg Hughes, and I hope now we can welcome onto the programme Liam O'Dwyer, Secretary General of the Red Cross. Good morning to you, Liam. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, and indeed I can. Good morning to you as well.
It's good to have you on the programme, Liam. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so we're talking now about the Chrysler Community Support Fund. Tell us about this fund, when it was established. We know why, of course, it was established, and how successful it's been as a fundraiser.
Well, we initiated the fund just over a week ago in cooperation with Unpust and with Apple Green, and the fund has been very successful to date. That there's either already in or pledges made of, at this stage, 1.1 million euros. So that no doubt will grow over a period of time. We've been very fortunate with the general public contributing, and then a considerable number of companies have also stepped in, and indeed local companies like Optum who have contributed, because, as they would say, their employees would know so many people who are involved in this awful tragedy. So that's the situation at the moment. Our members on the ground have begun some emergency distribution of funds at this stage, and they're dealing with the relatives on a one-by-one basis, and they're making some offering some assistance, and then we're going to begin later in the week a consultation process then with the relevant statutory agencies and local bodies, and indeed the relatives, as to what about the short and medium term distribution of the funds.
Now, anyone who donated to this fund, this is ring-fenced to deal with, in its entirety, to deal with the Chrysler tragedy.
Absolutely, yes. That's in all of the funds. That's precisely where they're going.
When you talk of working with statutory bodies, who are you talking about there? Like, can people be assured that money will not be used from this fund that might maybe have otherwise come out of council budgets, for example?
Well, I think people can be assured of that. I mean, what the Red Cross wants to do is it wants to be sure that it's aware prior to any of the more substantial distribution of funds what other people are doing. In other words, what the statutory bodies are doing themselves, so that we're not working at cross purposes ultimately. And then obviously we want to sit down with the relatives themselves and get a sense of how they would like to see the funds distributed and over what period of time. Because obviously for some people the very much a long term. So we want to just put all of that down on paper, have a consultation exercise, and then we'll be able to move there.
So what level of input then will the Chrysler community have in relation to this? I mean, who is ultimately going to decide to whom and how much of this money is given?
Well, that obviously would be a matter for the people we consult with. That's why we're going to consult. We'll consult with the relatives. We'll consult with community leaders as well. So it won't just be a decision that the Red Cross will take. It will do so in consultation with others. That's how we would operate.
Yeah, and so who would determine how much goes to each individual? And I'm only asking because this is, money that the public have entrusted in the Red Cross to make sure it helps people to a maximum. So I'm asking, who determines who gets what and how much?
Well, that's part of the process. I don't mean to be evasive, and I'm not trying to be evasive about it. We want to hear what people think first of all. That's the first protocol. Obviously, the money has been given to the Red Cross to utilise for the relatives and for the victims, etc. in Chrysler. So from that point of view, we know where the money is going. We have a responsibility ourselves to account for that money. So in the end, we have to account for that, and that has to be very transparent. So, but the first port of call is always to hear what other people think, and particularly the people on the ground, and particularly the people who are affected. So we need to take that consultation exercise first.
And when will that begin? And how? Are you talking a town hall meeting? Are you talking individual meetings with families?
We're talking, generally trying to bring groups of people together. We began that work this morning, and we've looked for, I suppose, the organisations and names and addresses, etc. So over the next day or two, we'll try to pull that together and arrange a meeting if we can by this week, because there's some degree of urgency about all of this. That said, I'd have to say our own members on the ground have been fantastic. They know everybody, obviously, because that's where they're from, and they've already been in touch with people to assist with immediate emergency needs.
Mm-hmm. Can you give us some example of those? Well, actually, maybe we'll leave that to one side because it could be personal to each individual. So we'll move past that one. But if someone needs help and they believe they might qualify for help, and maybe they've been overlooked or haven't been accounted for, can they make contact with the Red Cross?
Absolutely, they can contact us here. At info@redcross.ie, and we immediately will put them in touch with the relevant person in Donegal.
And can you give us some examples as to what kind of assistance can be given? I mean, I think there's some maybe obvious ones, maybe expenses, funeral expenses, or medical treatment or what have you. But can you give us some other examples just to make sure that anyone who might be listening that could avail of this does avail of it, Liam? That's the motivation for the question.
Well, I think some people have already approached, I think around travel and around accommodation. And we're expecting, I suppose, there will be loss of earnings as well. So there's a variety of expenses that relatives are going to have to meet. And I think also this is always done sitting down with somebody. This isn't something that you just jot down on paper and send off. This is about someone who knows the situation there. Not some faceless person up here in Dublin. And I think that's important.
Yeah, okay. And just in terms of its administration, the Red Cross cover that, don't they? The administration doesn't come from the fund itself. That's already part of the structure of the Red Cross.
On this occasion, yes. Generally, when we raise funds, we would always have an administration, a small administration charge, which is vital. In this case, no.
Yeah. And I hope you just, with the line of questioning, Liam, I hope it's clear to you. As you can imagine, lots of people have lots of different questions for all different reasons, some insensitive perhaps at certain times and others. But I just want to get the facts from you out there, and that was my motivation, rather than people speculating as to what's going on. Do you understand? I hope you understand that, Liam.
Oh, I do, yeah.
Is there anything you want to add?
No, I think not. I think over the next few days, the consultation process will begin. And on the basis of that process, we will be in a position probably early next week then to set out how the fund will be distributed and the mechanics for it. But at the moment, I think what we're doing is we're just making certain that anybody who has emergency needs, that those emergency needs are being met.
And very finally, I know you mentioned you've got your teams on the ground and what have you, but there are other organisations, maybe such as St. Vincent de Paul. Do you normally, or do you work with the likes of St. Vincent de Paul or other on the ground organisations to maybe filter some of this through them, or do you have everything you need within the Red Cross, if that makes sense?
Well, we would always link in. So when I'm talking about consultation, I'm clearly talking about there are statutory agencies like the HSE and the Department of Social Welfare whom we would want to meet and discuss with. Equally, there will be voluntary organisations and community development organisations. We have a very good relationship with the Society of St. Vincent de Paul, and we obviously will discuss the matter with them and seek their advice as well as other local organisations in and around Chrysler who would have on the ground experience. But I think with the fund itself, the fund will be managed by the Red Cross and distributed in whatever manner that we agree after the consultation process.
Okay, and people can still donate, of course. Redcross.ie is the research function on that website. People put in Chrysler and they'll be brought to that. And it's very important that people donate through official channels as well, because unfortunately there's some scrupulous people out there that will use events like this to try and defraud people. So best to go through the direct channels such as redcross.ie and then search within that website for the Chrysler tragedy. Thanks for your time this morning.
Okay, you're very welcome.
Take care. Okay, thank you. That's Liam O'Dwyer, Secretary General of the Red Cross. 086 60 25,000. The WhatsApps and texts to that number.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Green Shoes at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, Market Square in Falcarra, with a new range of great autumn-winter footwear now in stock. Also online at greenshoes.com.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's the Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring half-price sale. Get up to 50% off everything in store. All kitchen and bathroom tiles, all wood flooring, all bathware, all cladding. Everything's reduced. It's our biggest ever sale. The Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring half-price sale. Stores nationwide. Sale extended until Sunday.
Your autumn getaway awaits in Ards and North Down. Just minutes from Belfast, this stunning region is the place for great value short breaks. Embrace the water's edge with adventures on both land and sea. Explore picturesque towns and villages. Visit top-class attractions and sample delicious local food and drink. Experience a relaxing stay and a warm welcome this autumn. For details, offers and the chance to win a £300 voucher towards your break, go to visitardsandnorthdown.com.
The hilarious It's the Real McCoy by Tommy Marn on Grain On Theatre, Letterkenny, Friday, October 28th and Saturday 29th.
If I don't play my card soon, my chest will be flat.
It's the Real McCoy, Letterkenny, October 28th and 29th. See on grainon.com. Book now.
Connolly's Mercedes-Benz are back in Letterkenny with their brand new motor show, taking place this Saturday 22nd and Sunday the 23rd of October in Letterkenny Golf Club. We will be bringing Mercedes-Benz to you. Call in from 10:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. We will be doing fantastic offers on all 221 and 222 demos for the entire weekend. Drive away in your dream car this weekend with Connolly's Mercedes-Benz. Visit connolly's.ie to see our full range.
Are you worried about trees on your property? Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet are fully insured and have over 40 years experience in dangerous tree removal, tree felling, surgery and stump grinding. For peace of mind, call Northwest Forest Services Ballybuffet for a no obligation quotation on 91320033.
All right, just to let you know, there's a road traffic incident close to the Polestar roundabout in Letterkenny. It's near the tax office there, so just be careful on your approaches there. We want to make sure too that there isn't, a subsequent incident there. A lot of people doing U's there apparently, so be careful. Big thanks to Jimmy Buckley, says a listener, and for the St. Vincent de Paul in Sligo. They held an event in Torremolinos, is it? And they raised $4,500 for victims of the Chrysler charity. We played Jimmy earlier by coincidence, of course. Right. Let us speak now to Sarah. Sarah, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us, Sarah. Now, you are another one of our listeners who is concerned about the digitalisation of booking tickets for buses. It's not just buses. We heard from a caller before about football matches having to get pay online and all that type of stuff. But we're going to focus on bus tickets for the time being. What's your experience and concern, Sarah?
Now, if you need to go to Dublin now, you can't just go and stand at the bus stop and go on the bus. I'm talking basically for old age pensioners who have bus passes. So you went in, you handed your bus pass to the conductor or to the bus driver, and you got to your destination. Mm-hmm. Now you've got to book online the day before if you're going somewhere. So you can't make up in the morning that you're going to go to Dublin. You can't actually book any other way except online. Now, a lot of old age pensioners cannot do online. Now, I have interviewed 7 people that are in their 80s like myself in different counties in Ireland, and I've had all kinds of responses. But every single one of them had to get somebody to book the bus for them. They couldn't do it themselves, and they had to get somebody in their family or else a neighbour.
Now, just
if you haven't got a family living near you.
Yeah, and
that is the state of affairs for older people at the moment. And it came in very, very quietly, nearly sneakily. It was never announced that this was going to happen. And the first time that I had the experience of it, I rang a local private operator to go to Galway. I was talking to the person in the office, but she couldn't book the bus for me. And I had to actually ask a neighbour to do it for me because I have no family living near me. Now, this is affecting older people terribly.
Now, I'll tell you also, too, from your experience and from what you've told us, it's also robbing people, I think, of sort of, spontaneity, but also independence to some extent, because you would, almost at the drop of a hat, got up, took a notion, hopped on the bus, maybe headed to Dublin. You had that freedom, you had that independence. You retain, obviously, your independence to a great degree, but then having to ask someone else to book a ticket, to having to plan it, you know what I mean? That's a big change for you. You've been disadvantaged greatly there, I think.
Yes, absolutely, because I could go on the bus. The bus is I have a bus stop very, very near me. I can go on the bus to Dublin at the drop of a hat. I never had to plan what time I went because I went whenever I was ready on whichever bus was coming after that. I could go to Garthork or Guidor. I didn't have to plan when I was going. And as well as that, it's very awkward. A lot of people just don't want to say, like, I'm going somewhere. If I'm going to Ballybuffet from Lifford and I ask my neighbour to book the bus for me, they're going to say, oh, sure, I'm going up, I'll give you a lift. Do you know, you put other people in a kind of a bad position. As well as that, whoever books for you on their phone, I don't have a smartphone. If you don't have a smartphone, you cannot actually book. The person who has the smartphone, which is usually my neighbour, has to actually pay that £2 because They don't take my bank account from her phone. She has to have some facility on her phone to pay that.
Yeah, so it's not free transport any longer anyway, is it? Because there's
no, it's not.
There's a €2 levy. Also, too, what worries me about this, because I think this was snuck in with COVID, personally speaking, but what worries me about
very,
this,
very sneakily.
Sarah, I remember a couple of years ago, there was this conversation that was being had on a national programme about, lack of availability on buses. And, people were coming on and saying, oh, well, sure, it's people with free travel. Sure, they just get on the bus and, it's almost like a social outing for them. And what I'm trying to get at is they were critical of seats being taken up on buses, right? Because I remember someone was suggesting that old age pensioners should only be able to travel on buses at certain times to leave the space for other people. And you just wonder if part of this is to discourage you, Sarah, from getting on a bus. There's no, to try and leave space for other people.
It seems to be.
I mean, that's horrendous.
There's one thing, that the online companies must be making a lot of money on it as well.
Oh, of course they are.
And don't forget that some old age pensioners, and this is why this was brought in, to enable old age pensioners to visit their families in different places and in the country. This is why it was brought in the first place, to help us, to keep us alive longer, and to keep us active longer, and to keep us healthy longer. Mm-hmm. And now they have just done away with it all, because you do not go. I don't go on the bus hardly at all. Now, one of the things that I was going to say, I was talking to one of the people that I interviewed was in Offaly, and she went every day to her son or her daughter who lived somewhere. I don't know what county, but she was able to get a bus direct from quite near her to quite near there. And she wanted to go one day, and she had to actually ring her daughter in Japan to book the ticket for her.
Wow.
Now, that sounds ludicrous, that you can't go from Letterkenny to Lifford on the bus without booking it.
Is this becoming, that old Clint Eastwood film, No Country for Old Men? Is this becoming no country for old people? Because when you see now the priority in terms of their care, older people's care, in how they're treated in EDs, for example, the likes of this, older people not being able to pay for at football games, as I mentioned earlier, with cash, post offices closing, cash generally being removed from society, death by 1,000 cuts. And then you sort of get this narrative on some radio stations I've listened to where it's, well, why should young people pay for old people's pensions, pitching the young against the older? And I've spoken to older people too that have been left feeling like there's some sort of a burden on society, even though this society is built on their shoulders, I've said in the past. Is it becoming then a no country for old people? It's a problem people are getting older. It's a problem that people are older and healthy and want to go and visit family. Do you know what I mean? That's how it feels to me anyway. Yeah. That's how it feels. That's how it feels. I don't feel that. Obviously, I think that's clear, Sarah. But it feels like that's the way society is going. Yeah, but even if you didn't have a free bus pass, that is a great facility that we have. But even if we didn't have it, and you were going to pay, you still have to go online. Now, I couldn't make up my mind tonight when I'm going to bed. I'll get up in the morning and I'll go to Dublin, which I would have done very much so in the past. And there's a pile of people like me. Most of the people that I speak to feel exactly the same. But they have to get their children or their neighbours or whoever. If you have children living near, you're okay. And you're not okay because you shouldn't have to ask your children to book the bus for you. And there's another thing too, Sarah, if you don't mind me adding too. We all have a financial tipping point. There comes a point in our expenditure versus our income where we have to make a decision. And I have no doubt that there are older people that €2 charge, that you don't, it's only a digital transaction. You don't have to pay €2 every time you buy a loaf of bread with your card in a shop. So it's a load of crap as far as I'm concerned. Pardon my language, Sarah. But that there are going to be people that €2 is their tipping point, and they won't get on the bus. They won't book that ticket. And once you stop doing it, you stop doing it, don't you? You get out of the habit. You no longer ride the buses any longer. That's what worries me, as well as maybe the technical issues, but the fact that this could be the tipping point that stops people travelling to see their loved ones. And then obviously maybe in other areas of their life, they might begin to regress. We don't want a country like that, Sarah, do we?
No, but I do know, one of the people that I interviewed again told me that she went from one point to the other on a bus about 3 times a week. Like, she had 3 daughters. She went to the 3 of them, like, every week. That is now costing her £6 extra.
That's a lot of money. That's a then you multiply it by 4 weeks, and then maybe if there were 2 other journeys she might make, you know what I mean. That is exactly the scenario I'm talking about. You would then have to start thinking, can I afford to go and see my family?
Yeah.
Can I afford that independence?
TD or a person in charge of CIE or in charge of whoever brought this in. Like, I would like to know. Did you have to get permission to do this? Mm-hmm. Or, like, is there any government body that is in charge of this? Or, you know.
I have a sense.
Who decided that this was going to be the case?
Well, obviously those who want to make the most money, because obviously through COVID, everyone had to book seats. This is a problem they probably wanted to fix, and they've used this as an opportunity to do so. And once it's done, it's not going to be undone, seemingly. And that's the, I think that's just how it seems, Sarah. Maybe that is the way it is. Maybe it is what it seems.
Yeah. And you can actually book the bus, apparently, in the office in Letterkenny.
Sure, how do you get to that?
I was in Letterkenny 3 times at that, on 3 occasions, I went into the office in Letterkenny, the CIE office, and there was nobody there. It wasn't open.
Here's another scenario as well.
All of these occasions was in the afternoon.
Here's another scenario too, Sarah. A listener had to book a treatment, a trip to Dublin for medical treatment on the bus, okay? And they had to get another person to book their ticket. Now, I think quite a natural conversation in that scenario. Would you mind booking me my ticket? No problem. Where are you going? Dublin. Oh, that's lovely. What are you heading down there shopping? You know, where then that person might feel they have to share private information that they wouldn't ordinarily have to. You know, so that's another element. That's another element of it. Anne, can Anne join the conversation? She can. Anne, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm good. Do you want to add to this conversation?
Well, I do. My husband is going for a hip replacement operation, and I was looking for some support from the HSE for his recovery. He was told by his surgeon that he would need to go in for respite, maybe for a few weeks, but he doesn't want to do that. So I started to do some research and ask around to see what was available, and I came across this great integrated care team, which is on paper a fantastic idea. They come out to the person who's had the surgery, the older person. They get them up in the morning, they get them dressed. They look about their medications. They do a lot of work with them. And they're there for 6 weeks. This is on paper to help the person recover from the surgery in their own home. Mm-hmm. But then when I made contact with the integrated care team, and I spoke to the girl, I assume she's a nurse, I assume she is, she told me when I said, this is great, you know, you're going to get them up in the morning, blah, blah, blah. She said, no, we don't do any of that. We don't do any of that at all, she said. She says, we do some exercises with the person to help them get them back up on their feet, but that is all we do.
A little bit of rehab then. So what about all the other stuff that the integrated team's supposed to... Did she say, or did they say, where's this other stuff on paper? Is there cuts or what's going on, Anne?
Well, I didn't like to argue with her.
Understood.
I mean, what I had on paper was a lot of things that would be absolutely fantastic for an older person having surgery, trying to recover from surgery. And you have great difficulty when you have a hip replacement, getting dressed, putting on socks and shoes. No, they just probably do some exercises with the person. And so what's on paper does not exist in reality, in my experience.
And of course, that speeds up recovery. Presumably, it would help prevent, any complications that might require a hospital visit. In some cases, it's going to free up a hospital bed quicker. It makes a lot of sense. And you must have been very disappointed when what you thought was, right, this is brilliant, get the operation done, get him back on his feet and recovered quickly. And then, as it turns out, what was on paper was not in reality.
Well, this is what I was so confused about and disappointed, and I feel a little bit angry as well.
And you're right.
And then
I get the impression that's not in your
any...
nature either, Anne. I don't think you're an angry person by the sounds of
it. Well, I just, it's very frustrating to see something on paper and then go and investigate it, and you're really excited about it.
Yeah.
You're happy about it, and you're thinking this is going to be wonderful. He'll be back up on his feet, and it'll be a great support mechanism, especially for an older person. And then when you talk to the people who are running the integrated care team, they tell you that, no, we don't do that, we don't do that, we don't do that. They seem to be just maybe would come to your home, and if the person was already up, maybe walk them. Yeah. Get them to walk up and down the corridor or something like that. That seemed to be all that came back to me that they were doing. Also, I looked for home help too, and I was told that we weren't entitled to any kind of home help because home help is a long-term thing. It doesn't exist for 2 months or something like that for, to get a person back up on their feet again.
Very disappointing.
So I think there's a lot of things. I thought there's a lot of things on the internet about what services for old people, but I don't think they exist in reality.
Right. It's a decent insight, Anne. Listen, thank you, and I hope your other half is back and up and running as soon as possible. Anne, thank you, Anne. Sarah, not directly connected, but again, another perhaps example of this is no country for older people anymore.
Yes.
Right. Sarah, listen, thanks for your raising of this issue. We're going to use it as an opportunity to contact Sarah again. Go ahead.
Somebody will do something about that.
Yeah, okay. Have a lovely day,
thank
Sarah.
You very much.
Take care of yourself.
Thank you. Have a nice day yourself.
You too, Sarah.
You.
Take care. Thank you to Sarah and thank you to Anne.
Text or WhatsApp your view to Greg on 086 60 25,000.
Kia Sportage, Donegal's best-selling car in both new and used. Call into us in Letterkenny or Malin to find out why the Sportage is a Donegal favourite. Take a test drive today and you won't be disappointed.
Get a free pair of 1,000-mile socks with every pair of men's and women's running shoes at Michael Murphy Sports and Leisure. Run the roads, the beach or the track in comfort and style with the latest arrivals from top brands including Asics, Brooks and New Balance. Whether you're looking for extra cushioning, more lightweight shoes or trail shoes, you'll find the perfect pair of runners at michaelmurphysports.ie.
At Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, we are now operating out of one new state-of-the-art showroom in Donegal Town. And we invite you to visit our new 5,000 square foot Donegal Town showroom to discover the latest eye-catching designs. Remember, at Cherrymore, you're dealing directly with a manufacturer, which means high-quality kitchens at factory prices. Start planning your dream kitchen or bedroom by calling Cherrymore on 074 9725 822. Cherrymore, 25 years delivering value, quality and service all over Ireland.
Get ready for spooky season at Century Complex. This Halloween we have a great selection of movies at Century Cinemas, delicious food and cocktails in backstage, and Century Plays Halloween Fun Day takes place on the 31st of October from 12 to 2 p.m. Get in touch on 074 9121976 or visit centurycinemas.ie for more information.
You know what I love about Letterkenny Shopping Centre?
Let me guess. Great women's wear, fashion shopping?
Close.
Well then, Tesco's offers or McGettigan's coffee and pastries, the latest magazines, cosmetics or health foods?
Closer.
Okay, free parking, late night shopping Thursday and Friday, gifts, homewares, phones, shoes, kitchen gadgets, jewellery.
Okay, closer still.
Okay. What do you love about Letterkenny Shopping Centre?
It's all under one roof and right on my doorstep.
Letterkenny Shopping Centre, so much choice. Open 7 days. Find us on Facebook or visit letterkennysc.com.
It's flu season, and children are twice as likely as adults to catch the flu, which can sometimes cause serious illness. That's why all children aged 2 to 17 can get their free nasal spray flu vaccine, a safe and effective way to protect them and the rest of your family too. So make an appointment with your GP or pharmacist. Visit hsc.ie/flu for more information. From the HSC.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by Grant. From condensing boilers to heat pumps and underfloor heating, trust Grant to heat your home. Visit grant.eu.
All right, time for a quick look at the weather forecast and then we are out of here. Mainly dry and sunny today. It'll become breezy later with moderate to fresh east to south east winds, increasing fresh to strong. Highest temperatures 12 to 14 degrees. Do we have the shoes boots winners? Are they in with me here? No? Here they come. Okay, this is our last piece of work before we bid you adieu, bid you farewell. Let's have a look. The competition winner for Tuesday is Ellie McDevitt in Annagry. Well done, Ellie. You correctly said to us that you put your best foot forward and you've won a beautiful pair of Dewberry leather boots. Thanks to our friends and sponsors, Green Shoes, Letterkenny and Falcarra. We'll have another great prize for you tomorrow, so make sure you join us from 9 o'clock. Have a great day. Stay tuned. John Bresson's up around the northwest after the news at 12. Have a lovely day.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by